Yeah. Yeah. I know they mad for no reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Gotta move fast for a reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Oh, 700K, I'm selling a Bitcoin. Haters mad, but they listen to this one. More profit coming to my direction. Yeah, you know me, I don't need a mention. I got the remedy, ooh, yeah. They don't just follow me, ooh, yeah. You say allegedly, ooh, yeah. You would subscribe to me, ooh, yeah. Staring at chart, drawing a line. Make a decision, you out of time. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. See on stage. On-chain revolution. Done this. Phone.
Welcome back to On-Chain Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire crypto ecosystem. What is up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today. We're live from the On-Chain Hour, and I believe that we are not entering a bear market, but we've just bottomed because of options. So over the night, over the last, I want to say 6-7 hours, we saw a lot of downward spiral. But what happens is, during Deribit options day, when, $5 billion of options expired, you are seeing a lot of TradFi enter that, by the way. They have to sell down spot. They have to sell down futures to, finalize the options and stuff like that, do the payouts, stuff like that. So I'm not really worried. I do not think the bear market is back. Spoiler alert, that is today's episode. But there is, there is people saying that there is, that we are entering a bear market, but we have a key indicator that's telling us potentially until this indicator is broken, we're going to be heading back up now. We're going to head back up to, potentially all-time highs again. You got to remember, we're only about 30% away from an all-time high on Bitcoin. That's nothing. Bitcoin can do that in like a day or two. So I'm not worried at all. A lot of news talk about today. A lot of stuff going on at 12:30 today. We'll be having the great Jake Gallen from Agent Hustle joining us as well. So definitely looking forward to that. They have huge news coming in the next month or so. So I'm really expecting good things from them. Today's episode, we don't want to be bearish, right? But there is a lot of reasons to kind of look that way, but at the same time, looking positive, feeling positive is the way to go. And I know a lot of you guys out there will be saying, how can I be positive when I don't see shit positive? There's nothing positive happening in the markets. Well, if you really take a look, do some research, you can see a lot of positivity in the markets, guys. The XRP ETF broke all records yesterday. We are going to see a lot of ETFs entering in the next 30 to 60 days. There's going to be a lot of different projects that will be dropping. We're going to get airdrops from MetaMask, from all these other places. There's a lot to look forward to in crypto, and thinking we're in a bear market is absolutely ridiculous. Thinking, oh no, we had this 4-year window and we're in November. You're a jackass. Throw that shit out the window. All past data is gone. We are in a new era of crypto. We are in potentially the biggest Bitcoin super cycle that we've ever seen. We potentially could go all the way to 2029 and be bullish on these trends of bullish, a little bearishness, bullish, little bearishness, right? Exactly what we've been doing since 2023. I mean, we're just on this trajectory, just keep flying upward and upward. So but we have a lot to cover today, a lot going on. So without further ado, let's get the show started. Bringing my partner here, as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
What's up, man? How you feeling? Are you feeling the bear market, or you just think that this is it'll pass?
I believe it will pass for I do think we I don't think we go into the bear market right now. So I'm kind of aligned with you on that, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely tracking a chart that is letting me feel like I'm confident in this data to say, okay, I feel like we stepped into the bear market and we're just not there just yet, but it is kind of toting the line there, and that's can be create anxiety for people, but we'll go over that here in 1 second. But yeah, what's the biggest thing for you other than just stuff happening in the background that makes you feel like we're not heading in that direction anytime soon?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different reasons. The main reason is we're about to see an insane amount of crypto ETFs hit the market. XRP ETF, we'll get into that later, but it did insane yesterday. It was the number one ETF in the last 9 years, right? It's absolutely insane. It beat the Solana ETF. But not only that, we're going to see a whole bunch of ETFs coming on the market. And the big thing you have to understand is we're about to, the government's about to stop quantitative tightening. I mean, just think about that for a second. Like, we're about to potentially go into quantitative easing in the next 3 to 6 months. We're going to get a Fed chairman who's going to continue to cut rates, right? So whether if we stop in December, we're going to continue in May, right? So it doesn't really matter. So to say we're going to be in a bear market, I think is ridiculous, to the point of just people that are just so stuck in the 4-year cycle and just don't know how to like change that mindset of that is no longer. It's no longer a thing. The 4-year cycle is dead. We're about to enter a business cycle like we see no other. The government is going to be printing money into a bubble. There's going to be an explosion, and a lot of that money is going to trickle down into risk-on assets like crypto.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't blame the people that are stuck in that mindset a bit, because it's been the way it's been since 2012, right? And a lot of people, that's when, the people that are OGs kind of got in during that time. If you got in earlier than that, then you're really, really OG, right? So you're talking about 3 cycles that they've experienced this. So the training of psychology has been embedded. So I get it. Like, I get the people that are frustrated and stuff like that. But to your point, look, this is new for mainstream and institutions. And so they have more money than us. You know what I mean? So they can dictate how the cycles go. And unfortunately, that seems to be what was happening.
Yeah, 100%. And like, Bitcoin is just following TradFi, right? If you look at Bitcoin, TradFi is down about 1% today on average. Bitcoin down 3. Bitcoin is, a beta to them right now, right? So whatever they do, Bitcoin follows. But eventually, I feel like Bitcoin's going to break away from that. Bitcoin's going to become its own thing, and we're just got to wait for that. But that happens when we get further on in risk on. And right now, why be risk on when you can just put money in NVIDIA and make money? I had a friend tell me, hey, if I put 30K into Google and I'm up $7,000 on that, and it's like, well, it's too easy for them, right? Right now. So it's like, why would they get risk on? But sooner or later, you're not going to be able to do that anymore. It's going to be just too tight over there, and they're going to be looking for other options, and those options are crypto and risk on assets. So
yeah, well, I think the way real quick, this last thing, I think the way you pull them out of that is that you see you give like opportunity for higher percentage gain, and you see that happening over and over, and then greed kicks in at that point, right? So there's going to be percentages of those people that leave over to that area, but you got to create that first, and that's going into risk on.
Well, that's where the hedge funds kind of get involved, right? Because the hedge funds right now, their whole job is to get customers. How do you get customers? You say, hey, I can make more than those guys. I can make more than those guys. I can make more than those guys. Follow me, right? And that's where the risk on really comes in, because right now they're all kind of doing the same thing. They're leading their customers into, the blue chips, right? They're leading their customers into NVIDIA and Google and these ones because they're making money. But eventually, I do think you're going to see NVIDIA maybe pull back a little bit, but then you're going to see those gains that people have made entering, the Russell 500 and those assets in there, right? And when that happens, that's when crypto usually booms, because crypto is where the Russell guys go when they make money, because everyone gets further and further down the risk curve as we go on, and we're about to see that in massive amounts of money. So excited, but we're dealing with something right now. We're dealing with a little minor bear market, I guess you could say. But is the bear market back? This one indicator, though, could reveal the truth for crypto's next move. What is that indicator, Yagobi, and what are you thinking with it?
So I am using the 50-day or 50-week SMA that WebDro,
Not at WebDro.
yeah, shout out WebDro, that he suggested that we use, and I've been really tracking it, for the past 3 weeks, I would say, right? And if you look here, what's funny?
This comment by
Oh,
Adric.
yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
Yen
yeah.
is my mailman.
You got to read that. You got to read that. Mr. Yen is my mailman now. Yeah, hey, I mean, he's got to look for income somehow, right? But anyhow, if you're looking here, this is the weekly chart for Bitcoin, right? And I kind of circled some dates here because these are important dates that actually, the weekly candle broke down below this threshold, and this is really when the bear market kind of started. You can even say a little bit later, but like, let's say like the first candle below is kind of a bad sign, right? When you break below that, and then you have, there are people still making money in this area, by the way. But whenever you sustain it right here, then you're officially in that, right? So then you go back here, kind of in this area to where July 2018, kind of same situation, broke down, and then it kind of, you still had a little bit of opportunity, and then you were officially in the bear market. So that's something that we are kind of toting the line with here. You can see right here, but we have been a little bit, the past couple, let's see, April, and then we saw a huge jump up, and then down here in September of 2024, and then you saw a pretty drastic jump up. So, that is a good thing, is that every time it did tote it, if it wasn't time for a bear market time, then we had a pretty good strong bounce up, right? So people are like, well, it's below it right now. No, technically it's not, because this candle is not completed, right? It looks like it is, but we still have to wait until Sunday, right? Until this candle is officially going to be, red, or we're going to have a wick and it becomes green. We don't know, right? We want to definitely finish above it and really start, to work our way back up there. So this is something that we're looking at right now, right? I'm actually really gauging if we're heading into a bear market with this, because it just shows every single time. And I think you brought up the fact that you've been kind of creating your own weekly trend line, and it just matches that, right? So you can kind of do that from a basic standpoint if you just use trend lines and follow the trend here. But yeah, so we don't want to follow this situation that happened here, because if we do, then let's say that we in the next 3-4 weeks candles start to break down and settle down here, that would not be a good sign. And I think everybody can agree with that. Like if we get, next, like let's say 2 weeks from now, we're sitting at 85K, that is not good, because that means that have candles below here most likely. And then, we got to figure out, okay, how long is it now before it gets really bad? And so, this could also throw a ton of people off, though. So I'm not saying, just go be frantic right now and sell everything that you have. That's not what I'm saying. Actually, I'm kind of saying, sometimes the best thing to do is do nothing and just wait. And that's how I feel right here. Just kind of, let's see how Sunday ends up. Sunday is going to be a big, big day. And everybody knows that, because if it does end the candle below here, people are going to get bearish, man.
Yeah, I think the bottom is in. I really do. I've been following this this trend line since September, October of 2023, and real quick, I'm just to show mine real quick. It's just very simple, right? I'm a very simple when I look at stuff. I follow stuff in trends, right? We saw this trend right here, and this was kind of when I should have known last time that it was bear market time. And if we break this, if we fall below 94K, if the bottom is not in, I will turn bearish. I will turn bearish for the next 6 months, I think, honestly. But if we can bounce off this like we did this time, right? 3 times now we have, hit this line. And in 2 of the 3 times, we haven't seen what happens this time yet, we have bounced up to all-time highs and further. So I am expecting it again. I am expecting something like this now. We hit it, and I think this is a weekly chart. So I'm thinking the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles are going to be very green, maybe with 1 red in there. But I think the next 8 weeks, which would send us into a Santa Claus rally, something we've had been expecting anyway, right? And I think we're, by February, we're sitting at around 150,000 before a pullback. And I don't even know if we get a pullback then. I think maybe we go up to 170, all the way till maybe April, June, and maybe we go on this craziness that we've seen back here. Maybe we end up going to 400 or 500, maybe 600,000, and just absolutely going parabolic to the upside. It has happened every single time we've had these giant push-ups, right? And I do think it does happen. Or maybe what if it takes 4 years and we just kind of do this for 4 years? I mean, we've seen that before in TradFi, but who really knows?
Well, there's one of two options, I truly believe, because it's local history too. So you're talking about going only back to like early 2024. So institutions had already been involved because Bitcoin's ETF had been launched. We were prepping for ETH ETF at that point, right? So if you look at each time it touched that trend line, the last time it touched the trend line was right in April. If you look at that middle right there, it was April, right? So we
March,
had
April.
At the end of March, early April, we had a big boom with Bitcoin and eventually Ethereum, right? Ethereum actually had the biggest boom because it had to catch up from the lows. And if you go to the time before that it touched the trend line, right there, you're talking about right before October, which is when things started to get bullish for everything, right? Even alts at that point, you had runes running, you had all these things. So one of two things is going to happen, in my opinion here. One, we're going to bounce off of this aggressively, right? Like you just mentioned. Or two, which is not the good answer, we form a candle below that trend line, which would be the same as the 50-day SMA, and we got to talk about probably some planning of what to do, right? And keeping watch. Obviously, things can change, as this entire year has been different with institutions. But from looking at even the recent local historical data, you see there's pretty much one thing that happened every time it touched that trend line, and it was an aggressive bounce back up to the upside.
Yeah, multiple weeks too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks here. Like I said, like 8, 9 weeks here. So I'm saying, let's just say we started 8, 9 week rally here. We go all the way to mid-January for a pullback, right? And I could see that maybe pull back in January, and then we head into March and April, kind of getting bullish for the new Fed, right? So I mean, and that could be a pull up all the way till June, with maybe a sell the news event happening when Powell gets replaced. But we'll see. Only time will tell. But we'll be here. We'll be watching it. And we'll be, making sure you guys are aware of what's going on. But I truly believe that the reason we dipped last night was because of the Deribit options. So Deribit had a huge BTC and ETH option expiry with billions in notional rolling off. Spot sat below max pain into the event, and volatility picked up as traders hedged with the short-dated puts. Most upside calls expired worthless or far out of the money, which helped option sellers. Short-term put buyers and hedged desk likely did best as funding turned more negative after expiry. So all in all, traders were long calls and piling into puts. So traders hedged by selling spot and futures. The reason why we collapsed in the last 8 hours. That constant sell pressure and nerves around the giant expiry dragged Bitcoin down into the event. So this is why I'm saying that the bottom is in, and it was caused by Deribit options. Nobody was expecting Bitcoin to be under 100K going into this option expiry that happened this morning.
Man, that sounds like a high stress situation for a lot of these people that were in these options contracts, right? I mean, literally, they were just trying to hedge and with the puts and balance off and make their losses minimal, or try to just at least minimize as much as they could, right? And I don't know, it sounds like a bunch of huge whales got together and said, hey, like, we got to bring the price down. I'm not sure. I mean, like, it does sound manipulated the way it played out. But for the everyday person, I think that's a good thing, because like you said, it's just short time kind of just, hey, we had to do this to cover ourselves kind of situation, and the bounce back should be pretty decent if that's the case. And we'll find out Sunday. I'm very sure of it by Sunday at least.
I just feel good knowing that there was a reason for it. The worst thing is seeing like this huge, massive sell pressure and not knowing why. But it was the options. Options and are getting bigger and bigger, because you got to remember, TradFi doesn't really do perps. They do options. So as TradFi enters, options are going to be more and more of a thing. So options Fridays or expiry Fridays or whatever you want to call them, they're going to be a big deal over and over and over again, which could cause, insane upside going into it, or like we saw last night, a sell pressure.
Yeah, and that's something that we're not as used to, right? I mean, I think we are used to the manipulation for perps and leverage, but whenever you bring the option side into it, there's players in that game as well. And so now, the poor old retail has to deal with manipulation from
poor old retail.
has to deal with manipulation from leverage perps and now these options contracts, right? And so there's it's the same situation at the end of the day. There's winners and losers in that game. So
you can be a winner though. All you got to do is know when these dates are, and just know that if we're having sell pressure into that, buy the dip, right? Like, so we're seeing right now, we're seeing $2 trillion banking giant Wells Fargo increase its Bitcoin holdings this morning by 162% to $383 million. They seen what was happening, and they stepped in and increased their holdings by 162% this morning. They bought the dip. That's one of the reasons why we had some upside leaving that. So Wells Fargo, they said right at 9:30, they opened with some buying,
and they got all that information. They have all the information, right? So however they get it through their network or whatever, and so they filled the gap, right? There was a gap there, and they filled it and said, we know why this is happening, and so we are getting in more, and that should be some research insight for people to kind of try to put the puzzle together and stuff. So that's definitely a relief to know that Wells Fargo got in. I know people are like, well, at the little guy doesn't get to buy that up, but I think you use it as just like good research to kind of get a feeling of, okay, I feel pretty safe even though things look crazy.
Well, I mean, this should be an indicator to you. Let's just say, maybe not getting Bitcoin, but when Bitcoin starts to go up in the next 8 weeks, which I kind of think it will, what do you think is going to be, the most lucrative assets? It's going to be
what's on sale.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're right now, the retail guy can come in and get BNB at $900. You can get something like Dog that's further down the risk curve at $140 million market cap, right? You can get Tau, which I think is one of the biggest players. Exactly. I mean, right now, I think retail has, if you're retail and you're in crypto right now, you have more advantage than anyone else because you're here in the moment and you're not afraid of volatility. So,
yep.
All right. So another reason why we were kind of down yesterday or last night was, the Bitcoin ETF saw a record yesterday of $870 million, the largest sell-off. But I think they were all kind of looking at the options for expiry, and they were like, okay, I'm curious what's going to happen today. I do think we're going to get, when 1 o'clock comes, when the traders get back to their desk, I do think we're going to have some sell pressure to the upside. I mean, some buying pressure to the upside. And I think a lot of them sold down yesterday. 870 million, the largest, the second largest in history with the Bitcoin ETF yesterday. Insane.
Yeah, that is big, and it sounds like a lot of these institutions already had a heads up, right, of kind of what was to come, and so I wouldn't be shocked if we have huge inflows next week. Just reported, maybe even at some point today. They get bought. A lot of it gets bought back up because they feel like it's at discount. But you mentioned people like Chamath and these not institutions, but they have money that the highest level of money of retail, and they want cheaper, right? And so you're talking about the 1% that wants to add Bitcoin into their portfolio at a cheaper price. We're seeing, I think, a lot of these like financial powers, whether it's institutional level or just that 1%, being able to kind of shove things around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but the good news is that they want to buy Bitcoin at 90,000, 85,000 because they believe it's going to go to 150, 185, 200,000. Right. So that is something that you can kind of think about as well.
Yeah, 100%. And something like the All In podcast, I think everyone should really listen to. It's one of my favorite podcasts. It's 4 billionaires talking about their bags. I mean, at the end of the day, right? You got to listen to it. And Shabazz called this. He said, I'm a buyer of Bitcoin under 100K. He said, I'm a buyer around 90, 94. That's exact words. And where do we hit today? We hit 94,000. I mean, it was written on the wall for us, and all we had to do is take the information that was given and just listen, right? So, but we seen yesterday, we saw spot Ethereum, saw a total of outflows of 260 million, marking its third consecutive day of outflows. US spot ETF Solana, though, had 1.4 million of inflows. So Solana is doing great when it comes to the ETFs, but there is someone doing better. So as we know, the XRPC came out swinging. Canary's XRP ETF dropped $59 million in day one value, beating Solana's debut, which was 55 million. But this is the kicker: 245 million in net inflows, meaning Canary had to create 245 million more, $245 million dollars worth of shares into the market because they just not had enough. The strongest debut of all 900 ETF launches this year. Absolutely insane. One, Solana saw no outflow when it came to the ETF, and two, XRP debuted and had the biggest ETF this year so far.
Yeah, Solana had no inflow on day one.
Solana,
is that what you're saying?
So no. So Solana had about, I think it was like 2 million in inflow, while XRP had $245
I was about to say,
million in inflows.
Yeah, that's a big difference, right? I'm not shocked about XRP having a ton of success with this product because they are the institution, and they've always kind of been looked at like that, just because Brad Garlinghouse's background and his connections with the banking financial systems and stuff like that. So there's a lot of people that are bullish on XRP. I mean, you can talk about the utility of it and all these things, saying, which I agree with. There's not utility, but if they have the connections to get people to be excited about their ETF, I just think that it's probably it's probably a good buy. Honestly, I'm not at this moment. I'm just talking about in general, like the future outlook of XRP. I think it has a bright future. And I don't think any of those things that they pushed, back 6 years ago, whatever, 8 years ago, with one XRP being $10,000 because it's basically going to replace the Swift, and each token's going to be carrying the value. That I don't believe that at all, really. It's more of their institutional connections, and you can see it right here. $245 million of net inflows that's a huge day.
Yeah, 100%. And you got to remember to like, XRP, in my opinion, is a meme cult coin, very similar to GameStop. You know what I mean? I don't think the XRP or Ripple, are going to be anything spectacular in the future. But I think, this community that they have here, that they've created, I'll give them that, is the most powerful community in the world. I feel like these guys can take this coin up to $50 in the next 15, 20 years, right? I do believe that, right? I think that, this is going to be a cult-like coin that's going to be something huge, and Ripple has an opportunity with this to kind of be a part of the finances. And I don't know what they're going to do, but they're partnering, they're doing all this stuff. So I don't know, maybe they can become something in the future, but right now they're just an insane community. And I do think stable coins are going to be exactly what, XRP was supposed to be. There's no reason for XRP to exist, in my opinion. I do love the fact that it's trading on EVM now. There's an EVM chain, and I think stable coins, RPL tokens is trading over there too. I do think that, the community is absolutely insane. That's why, people are bullish on it.
Yeah. I think that like XRP benefits from Ripple now, not necessarily taking money, selling it down and all that stuff. Obviously that whole situation was bad in the past, but I think because Ripple, they might not be doing a million things at the moment, but Ripple is that institutional connection right now that they have. Right. So, I'm in the same boat as you, right? XRP is used for gas on the XRPL, but other than that, that's pretty much it. Right. So it's kind of like, but it's a meme coin that's like because of the community cult aspect, but it's dressed up. It's dressed up because of Ripple. You know what I mean? So it's dressed up as like this big, like future financial company that's going to be making, you know, huge moves because of their network connections with the legacy financial system and all these things, right? And so because of that, it will do well. And I agree. I think it has that opportunity for upward trajectory, right? You know, those $10,000 per XRP kind of things, it worked. It got those people in, you know what I mean? And now they're here because they all bought through the ups and downs, which they had a lot of downs. And now it seems like they're starting to have more ups than downs.
I agree. I'm really excited for this next thing because Albert Amari is wrong again. This guy has been one of the leading commenters who's just been awful. I'm so glad he doesn't have a YouTube show or anything because he's going to lead people into disaster. Because don't forget, the latest bear market in 2022, the Bitcoin ETF was a final news before entering the bear market. What the hell are you talking about? The ETF happened in January of 2024. You jackass! Like, I don't understand this.
Dude. I think he's saying the rumors of it.
What rumors? I didn't hear any rumors about ETF in 2022.
They were trying to push it, and I think that's when Grayscale started to go into create its trust.
They created the trust in 2013.
Okay, so then they've had it until then, but I do remember ETF rumors, not of it coming out like anytime soon or anything around there, but they were like, it was like the thing that to give hope, but it's still that doesn't count in my opinion. Like it wasn't. Not many people took it seriously. I'll tell you that. Not many people.
No one took it seriously at all, from my point of view. It wasn't anything that I heard. I didn't hear anything about an ETF until probably 2023. I think in June of 2023 was the first time I even thought that was even possible. You know what I mean? Because the people were happy with the trust. The Grayscale Trust's been working since 2013, right? So I don't know. Albert Amari says, see you in 2027. Good luck, man. You're gonna come in here and buy everyone's bags at the end. Glasshopper says, I buy Tao every dip. My guy, Glasshopper is going to make it. I love this dude. He, Tao is something like I told my sister, you know, recently, I said, hey, you know, if you want to get a little bit more risk on, you know, trade your Bitcoin into Tao. She was like, all right, let's do it. So I took all her Bitcoin and moved it into Tao for her. I'm 100% believe Tao is one of the safest because of the halving coming up and one of the ones that are going to move the best in the next like 24 months.
Yep. And shout out to Ryan. Okay, go ahead.
Good. Yeah, I'll just run down these real quick. Stan says, I buy Hedera on every dip. Ryan says, what's up, guys? Appreciate you and thank you. What's up, Ryan? Rick G says, all eyes on Bitcoin. No need to look at alts right now. I think you're wrong there. I think the fact that the alts are staying so strong right now is a good sign, right?
So specific alts, obviously, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to get too far down the risk curve on that.
Yeah.
So, but if you're in this every day, which Rick G is, shout out Rick G, he's an OG community member as well. Then you know that probably something like Hyperliquid, Merlin, you know, now what was Tau, those types. Those are more okay if you're going to get a little bit risky for the alts, but below that, it's you know, probably too early.
Well, I disagree a little bit. I think it's a good time to DCA. I think if you're going all in on these assets, it's not a good move. But if you want to buy a little bit here and continue to buy weekly, I think it's solid, a really good time.
Solid, very solid.
I feel like,
oh man, I don't know.
I'm not saying buy meme coins. I'm not saying buy any meme coins, but I'm saying like if you want to buy like, I don't know, all the way down the risk curve, you want to buy Morpheus right here, or you know, some syrup, right, with Maple. I think
but those are solid. Those are pretty solid though. Well, Maple's been around since 2022, I think, and they have a solid revenue generating product.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
And Morpho like as well.
I feel like you were saying like stay in the top 100. I think you should go into the top 200 and 300.
I think Merlin is kind of, even though its own blockchain, it's kind of comparable to like Maple and stuff because you know they're both established, they've gone through hard times and stuff like that. So those type of projects, I think I'm okay, but that would probably be the end of my risk curve part right now.
Yeah.
For right now, and then get more riskier as you know, maybe December comes around and we'll see what happens with the going into QE and things.
Yeah, but I'm kind of okay with going into stuff like the X402 stuff that's further down the risk curve as well. See some AI agents that are like in the top 1,000, right? I feel like you can get away with Codex and Hustle, and I feel like there's a lot of room to kind of DCA into. Yeah, you got to believe in the founders, right? That's the number one thing. But I do think you can kind of start DCAing. I'm not saying go all in. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying, hey, $50 a week, $100 a week. Maybe 300 if you have it that way. But I think it's okay to start DCAing in the anything you truly believe in.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's gonna have their own strategy, right? And so that's kind of where my mind is right now. Is pouring into those a bit more, but opening up as things get a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. WebJoe says buying Hustle. I think that's a great buy here. It's 2.6
Absolutely.
million. Ryan, shout out super fan, my guy. Ryan says DIP, dude, I purchased. Dip I purchased. Let's go. Ryan says I've been all in for 5 years. I think we all kind of been that way, and WebJoe's DCA all the way. Yeah, that's the thing. And even if you do, let's just say you go into something that completely fails, but you just throw $200 in. You know what I mean? And maybe you buy it a couple times. I think you're still good because you're going to be getting into other projects as well, right? So I don't think you should go all in on one project either. I think you should have a basket of projects, 10 to 15 good ones, and at low cost and high reward for sure. All right, let's move along here. Eric Balchunas noted that the SEC guidelines allows issuers to accelerate their effective date of their registration statements under certain conditions. So the government shutdown actually accelerated a lot of these ETFs. And Eric's kind of saying potentially next week we could have 5 more ETFs kind of hitting the market. And then in December, we could potentially see 50 ETFs, like 5 Solana, 6 XRP. There's 11 XRP ETFs set to hit the stock market.
Woo! They know it's going to be. They know it's hot. It's going to be hot. So those issuers, they are about that.
Yeah, 100%. Miles Future says low key surprise that alts are actually holding up today. He said many barely moved, and dominance is actually down, which I thought was really weird. Bitcoin dominance is back under 60. And Bitcoin is down 2.4%, while Ethereum is actually up on the day. And you're seeing XRP up on the day, Aster up on the day, Wilfi up, ETH Bitcoin up 3%, ETH against Bitcoin. This is really, really good sign. Polkadot's up today. Like, it's a really good sign that like Bitcoin's down, 2.4%, and some of these alts are kind of staying healthy right now.
Yeah, let's keep watching Ethereum and see, because it's really minimal that I'm looking at right now in terms of the difference. I'm on CoinMarketCap and I'm seeing on the day ETH is down 3.77%, but they obviously do a different time than what you're looking at. But it's down less on my chart still than Bitcoin is, barely by 0.23%. But if it starts to get aggressive to the upside or something like that, then definitely something to continually pay attention to. Also, the other one's holding pretty strong. That's definitely a good sign, because they get hit typically. Well, this cycle is very weird, but you would think typically they would get hit even harder than Ethereum. Yeah. But it seems like things are holding up, and the dominance too. That is something that we haven't really been checking to, and looks like ETH USD. So ETH is down against the dollar, right? Oh no, that's ETH Tether. Yep.
Yeah. ETH's up actually. Isn't it weird? Because this resets at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But yeah, as of 7 p.m. Eastern time last night, Bitcoin is down 2.3, and you're seeing Ethereum USDT up 0.7. So that's what I'm kind of saying. That's a really good sign.
And can you go to the dominance real quick? Do you have that up?
Yeah.
If you don't know,
no worries. I have it here.
Okay. Yeah. So this is interesting, right? When Bitcoin dumps, usually dominance stays the same or goes up, unless we're in alt season, official alt season. Then that's obviously it will go down because we're in alt season and everything goes up against Bitcoin. So this right here is definitely interesting little to see how we end this week on the dominance chart, man. It's very, very interesting. We could see something interesting kind of play out of this.
I mean, I would absolutely love just dominance to kind of just fall off a cliff and get down by like the end of this year, being like 54. I think that would be absolutely great, and it would kind of go in the structure here because we broke structure back in July, and it has been down. But Benjamin Cohen, guy called it again. He's called 64. It did take October 10th manipulation for it to hit 64, but he did call 64 in October, and he got it.
It's right below 64 though. No, just kidding.
It's like right there.
I'll give it to
64, 63. I mean, the guy's just on, bro. Like, I'm sorry.
He's been on, but he hasn't really been gloating so much about that period, though. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Because I think he himself even realizes that, like, it wasn't probably the aggressive uptrend of the dominance that he expected. Still hit his target, whatever. We'll give him that. But now it looks like it's kind of going red a little bit. So let's see. I think next week is probably one of the biggest weeks maybe of Q4. And I say that because we end the week Sunday. We're going to find out if we have that candle below the 50-day SMA. And then also we get to see what dominance looks like next week as well, right? How is Bitcoin going to react to we'll also find out if it was truly the options kind of causing that, because if we end up with a green candle to end the week, we start that upward, and then we can start that aggressive upward trajectory as well, because we touched the trend line and the 50-day SMA on the weekly candle, right? So next week, biggest week I think of Q4.
Yeah, and honestly, you're right. And around the 20th is usually around the time the Santa Claus rally starts. The Santa Claus rally in the stock market is usually between right before Thanksgiving. And it usually goes all the way until, the first week of January. They call it the Santa Claus rally, and it's something that, it's been traditionally positive for markets. So we'll see if that happens again here. I'm actually expecting it. I'm actually expecting exactly what you said. What's really encouraging yesterday too was the fact that, we had this dump on Bitcoin, but only $300 million of longs were liquidated. I know that sounds like a lot, 300 million, but in prior we've had 1.2 billion, 1.8 billion. I mean, it's been a lot. So it's kind of encouraging that the fact there's not a lot of longs right now that are very risk on. So it was only like 30% of what normally happens when you see Bitcoin drop 6-7%.
Yeah, because people are out of money. People are out of money, but also they're cautious. So that's the biggest thing. Leverage has been, the Achilles heel for a lot of people that are trying to, do well each cycle, right? And so it wipes out the natives. It just does. It has happened multiple cycles, and this cycle is no different. But it also kind of reframes the psychology a bit before going into like a hodl mentality a little bit for spot and stuff. Because now people are like, man, like, I don't want to mess with leverage anymore. Like, some people are just you're not going to get out of the space. You believe in it, and you're going to continually keep trying and not give up. And so those people will go into spot during, after like just being jacked up from leverage like that. And then maybe, that kind of mentality can be contagious. We'll see if we can. That's what we need, man. If we can go into a hodl mentality, even in the risk on environment, that's actually where we need it the most.
Yeah. That was the first time I actually thought about that. I didn't think about that. I was actually going the other way and thinking that they were all just going short.
What you think? I think they're the bear. Go ahead.
Okay.
I was going to say, I think that the people that are naturally bearish, obviously they're loading up and stuff, but the people that, necessarily were expecting a bull run and got beat up so bad, maybe if they're like in this really bad psychological state, they're like, what? No, I'm switching my stance. But most, I think, that have any sort of level-headedness would take a step back and say, man, like, am I wrong about the cycle, history of the cycle, what's going on here? Let me just either sit in spot or do nothing and wait.
Yeah, I just think the path of most pain right now is for a giant green candle. A giant green candle, I think, would liquidate $2 billion of shorts. I feel like everyone on X right now, every trader, I mean, Frankie Candles to Tom Crown, to every single person right now is short, whether they, maybe they covered their short this morning at 94,000. I know that was Tom Crown's, Frankie Candles' target, 94,000. But I just feel like a giant green candle right now would absolutely destroy crypto Twitter. And it would say, it would destroy James Wynn, who has been short now since 106,000. Right. And I think, we'll see what happens with that, but I don't know. All right. Let's kind of get into Bitcoin and crypto price action and crypto bubbles. I'm actually curious to kind of see where you're looking. I got a feeling you're going to be a little bit more bullish in this one than you did call from some downward pressure yesterday on the I think it was the MACD. So
Yeah, I did. And we got that, right? That's kind of how it played out. And, yesterday was a pretty obvious one, I felt like, right? Just because everything was pointing towards that. Like when everything is pointing towards that, your indicator. I use basic, just stochastic and MACD, and I do use that SMA, but it's for the weekly chart. But I just try to go off of kind of what the indicators are saying, maybe some of the foundational type of analysis, right? Stuff like that. But yeah, before we get into this though, guys, on the YouTube side, smash that like for us, subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on, all that great stuff. And then on the X side, let's share the space as well as everywhere else. Welcome to all the other bajillion platforms we stream to. We just want to get to the masses and onboard as many people as possible. But yeah, taking a look here at the hour chart, right? So we were looking at that yesterday. We were kind of in this reverse. I think we were sitting right here. Maybe it was the daily that was like that. I think maybe we were a little bit earlier yesterday. Yeah, but it did play out kind of what I expected, right? Each time frame was telling me, hey, we're probably gonna go lower. Now, what happens now? We officially, from a technically, we have crossed back over to buy pressure, but it's really weak right now. So nothing to get super excited about. You do see the fast line kind of wanting to point up here. Stochastics just passing over the 80-point mark. So the worst thing that someone that is anxious, from trading leverage could do is rush into something again, right? And especially after like you maybe got wrecked in this kind of situation, and then you're like, okay, it's over. That's not necessarily how it works, right? You can see there's a reoccurring pattern too: rebound, dump, rebound, dump, rebound. Do we kind of replicate that, right? So that is something that for me, I want to wait and see instead of like put my money on the line to find out, right? So because I think really getting that confirmation that we are out of the downtrend is very, very important, because you could be a part of the continuous downtrend and you don't want to do that, right? So yeah, so that's something that my kind of mentality is wait. It looks like maybe we might be getting through some that sell pressure. Maybe that's the Deribit options was a big player in that, but I do need more time and more conviction to make any type of play if I'm going to be using leverage at all, right? Let's take a look here at the support and resistance going back to 5 a.m. Central Time today. You're looking at the 96, right under 97,000. Support looking pretty good here. Above, the resistance is kicking us down though, right at the 97,000. And below that, we are kind of catching the knives here a little bit with the support dominating. So below 97,000, we're good. Going down to here. So where the volume actually kicks up even more, that's when resistance kind of starts to dominate a little bit. So just really mixed bag, in my opinion, is a little chop kind of figuring out like what does Bitcoin want to do? What do these positions want to do? These large positions, what's the energy going to be heading into the weekend? We're not getting a lot of data from, these support and resistance levels. I will say if you go out here, which is the highest point of volume, we are showing support here at the 96.4, and it's pretty decent support, not super dominating, but a good amount right here. So that's a good sign here. So rest of today, in my opinion, me personally, I'm kind of waiting to see how much more of an effect the options might have had, if it was the options. And then also what is a rebound look like, the start of a rebound? Does it happen so quickly? Typically it doesn't, to be honest. It doesn't necessarily happen right away, because that would be too easy for people to start loading up on longs here, right? Just to get back to 103. So, the market's really really smart, these big institutions that are running these leveraged platforms and stuff. So definitely going to be waiting for more data to come out today, but this is a good sign because it does look like someone tried to put a tourniquet. You know, we might have put a tourniquet on the bleed out. We'll see if that is the case here. Looking at the 4-hour, if my thing will load up here. Sorry about that. Bear with me, guys. All right. I have a feeling that on the 4-hour, we're probably, you know, it's going to show a broken down sell session. Yep, and that's exactly what we got here. Let me refresh this. All right, pull this back here. You get a new computer, I think. All right, you can see here, yeah, you know, on the 4-hour, the sell session, sell pressure session has started to break down, but it's not. I'm not convinced yet, right? We need to come out of this. We need to come out of, you know, the oversold territory, and you know, I feel much more comfortable being in this mid area, heading towards the top, right? You need to see this blue line start to curl up as well. So as of right now, you know, kind of what I said on the hour chart is I need to see more data. I need to see more from the 4-hour and zoom out a bit. Let's go to the daily here and pick this up because we already talked about the weekly chart. We're waiting to Sunday to bounce off of that, but and the daily is the one that, you know, for me, I've been kind of disappointed with, right? Because we got this fake out here that made it look like we were gonna, you know, come out of that momentum, that sell pressure momentum, only to have a reversal there. So the 4-hour looks like it wants to break down, but once that gets more aggressive, this will start to break down. So as of right now, I'm a wait and kind of see for the rest of today. Probably see some sort of like chop with a little bit of upside, I would imagine, because we did get beat down last night and early this morning. So that is Bitcoin for you guys. Let's see if Ethereum's kind of doing its own thing here. You know, because there is a little bit of a uptick with Ethereum compared to Bitcoin, right? And so we can get maybe some confirmation that that is the actual case with Ethereum, maybe trying to show some aggression to maybe try to break out. But, you know, I have really been in this, you know, theory of it's been following Bitcoin just so closely the past, you know, I would say 2 months, really, right? It hasn't had really its own kind of upward boom since the summer when it went on its own and dominance really started to dump, right? Bitcoin dominance did. But the hour chart looks good. It looks really good here. You know, compared to Bitcoin, it has a good lead. You're talking about Bitcoin only having that first kind of green MACD bar, but now with Ethereum, we've actually kind of trying to be in sell pressure for a minute, right? And now it looks like it's trying to get a little bit more aggressive. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Ethereum. I've been pretty bored with Ethereum because it's been following Bitcoin so closely. I almost kind of just, you know, it's no point to get really deep into it. But now looks like it might want to kind of do its own thing here. I'm going to be watching it very, very closely. But yeah, it looks like, you know, it wants to go to the upside. Obviously, Bitcoin starts to bleed pretty hard. I can't see Ethereum just going completely like, you know, rogue. Not yet. But if it does, man, that would be a great sign, right? The 4-hour is more broken down as well. You can see it wants to come out on the 4-hour as well. So Ethereum looks like it's in a better spot than Bitcoin does right now, as of right now. So obviously the daily is going to still be in the sell pressure. So we do need to see some aggressive, you know, maybe get back to 36, 37, 3,800, something like that. This will start to break down. So next week, guys, next week, in my opinion, is going to be huge for Bitcoin and also Ethereum, right? Maybe even bigger for Ethereum than some of these alts. But right now, the altcoins, I'm pulling up the crypto bubbles here, and they look pretty red. You know, understandable. You know, most of them are kind of, you know, going with the market sentiment. Let me close some of these windows. All right, there we go. Damn. All right, my computer's acting like a
darkness.
Senior citizen. My computer is. Anyways, but let's take a look here. You see Starknet with this big bounce back, right? 23.6%. So you had mentioned maybe there's some sort of correlation with Starknet and Zcash, or you're hearing that there is. And with Starknet, is there some sort of privacy feature or something like that? Something that I'm going to dive in. Okay, so
I was looking at it before the show, and so there is you can enable any type of transaction to be private on Starknet. So it's a chain that you can obviously, it's a Ethereum based chain. You can use it, and just like you would use Ethereum, but you can make your transactions private, and people are using it as a beta play for Zcash and Dash. So meaning beta play usually means, like, for instance, if you're long on Ethereum, you think Ethereum's about to go up, you would get into stuff like Aave and Lido, because Ethereum goes up 4%, Aave and Lido go up 16%, right? And you're kind of seeing it here with Zcash. Instead of getting in Zcash, which kind of has already run, Starknet and Dash, for instance, haven't ran as hard and could be players if Zcash goes up a couple more percentage points.
Yeah, and there's some people that have group chats and stuff like that, and the people that I've seen on the timeline, they are consistently like trading meme coins, but the well group that was trading meme coins with them have decided to go into more legacy stuff that's safe. So maybe that's a part of what's trying to this movement of trying to change things on Solana, but these whales aren't willing to risk $10,000 and top blast something just to sell at a loss at $2,000, $3,000, right? So what do they do? They say, hey, let's pump something that is safer, right? And you see the Winklevoss twins definitely tripling down on Zcash, right? And Starknet could be a part of that whale strategy. You see Dash now, obviously privacy is running together, but Dash is up 11.8%. Wilfi is up 4.7%. By the way, we are going to have one of the lead advisors for America.fund, and he's the lead advisor of Wilfi, on the show next Tuesday, but we're going to put a reminder out on our X account. So that should be an exciting one. It's going to be live streamed though, so it's going to be during this time period. But yeah, taking a other look here, almost everything else is red. XMR, another privacy coin. So 4 privacy coins really leading the movement here. And then you got Aptos that's kind of sticking out by itself. I think RWA, they're starting to get RWA stuff, right? Aptos.
Well, they just had they beat Ethereum for the first time ever in stablecoins over there today. So they had more stablecoins in the last 24 hours than Ethereum. So I don't know. Someone's getting really bullish on Aptos right now, dumping stablecoins. I mean, buying stablecoins and putting them on Aptos.
So start connecting the dots with some of these things, guys. Aptos. Who are the founders of Aptos? Right? Weren't they the ex Facebook crew or whatever? Right.
There were so 2 guys who created the Move program language. One created Sui and the other one created Aptos.
Yeah. Okay. So Sui's gotten a lot of institutional attention. Aptos is now starting to get a lot. These guys had connections and networks in Silicon Valley, the huge investors, deep pockets. Pay attention to that. Who else is in that group? Spark is in that group, similar group, not the Facebook group. But when I say similar group, I'm talking about corporate fintech or huge tech bros institutions, right? And so they have money that's going to be saying, and these meetings and networks and stuff like that. I'm just saying, I'm connecting those dots, but maybe my dots are not connecting correctly.
No, I think you're dead on, because David Marcus, Facebook went and got him, poached him from PayPal or wherever he left PayPal to join. He was ahead of the Libra program. His 2 devs were the guy who created Sui and the guy who created Aptos, right? David Marcus was their boss technically, right? So think about that for a second. It's like it's pretty wild, right? So
absolutely, and are like the Bitcoin ecosystem is a bit kind of conditioned to scaling. So does it use Bitcoin layer 1? All these things. I think all that stuff has to go out the window for something like Spark or these type of situations, because again, it's about the capital availability and who's willing to invest in your company. And these guys have people that believe in them big time. I mean, none of this financial advice. I'm just telling you from research and stuff of what I'm connecting the dots. But let's get back to these crypto bubbles here. You see Story Protocol pulling back about 13%. Cardano, haven't heard much from from Cardano or Charles Hodgkinson or
Quiet.
yeah, they're down about 4% there. Aave down 11. Pepe down 8.7% there. HBAR down about 7%. Doge down about 3.3%. MakerDAO down about 6.5%. And then Solana down 5% there. Aerodrome down 6%. But all in all, most of these blue chips are down between 3 and 5%, guys. So you see Morpho bouncing back here at 2.8%. And then going to the top 200 here, ZK up 7.8%. Maybe there's some privacy aspect to that as well, right? You got Syrup up 5%. You were talking about them earlier. I think that's Maple, right? And then you got Pulse is kind of pulling back about 9%, Hex 11%. So the PulseX kind of stuff is pulled back, but maybe they're still selling down for the sacrifice stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
so ProveX is over. It's over $1 million now. So that's what's happening right now. Everyone thinks that ProveX is going to be Richard's new priority. So everyone's kind of dumping assets to get into ProveX's what is he calling it? Sacrifice.
Yeah, sacrifice games, man. Our industry, man. It's wild. It is a wild industry. Fartcoin is pulled back 8.8%. Zora down 5.4%. So yeah, mostly everything is pulled back today. But you know, some of the good news is, you know, some of these main alts seem pretty strong, you know. And so we'll see again next week, big week, Sunday, big day. Let's see how we finish the week, right? That's going to be big. And Mr. Sheedy, what's up? We got an OG announce. He says, "What's up, guys? Love the shirt, Yagobi. Thank you so much. I know you have one or maybe two."
Speaking of that shirt, if you guys want it, it is going. We got a couple more days left. No, actually, yes, this Sunday we're going to take it down, and it's no longer, you can no longer buy from the OnChain Revolution store. So, but let's kind of get into the roll call, where we kind of take the first comment of the day and we put it on a spreadsheet. That first comment today is the great Webdro. Congratulations on win number 56 on the year. You, sir, are legendary. Absolutely killing it like always. Congratulations, Webdro. He says, closing above the 50-week SMA just before the close again. I mean, that would be good. He said, or closing below, historically always marking the end. Yeah, so I guess Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern is going to be very telling for what is going to happen the next week. So, and he says, or another, this time is different first, a bear trap like no other.
Man, why'd you have to do that, man? Why'd you have to do
it was so good, and then he just came in with one last one. No, just kidding. Hydro Sapien, the legend himself, he said the freaking cabal is manipulating everything. These guys are parasites, inside trading, front running bots. They're throwing the kitchen sink at the whole damn industry. Everything is rigged. I love it. I love the frustration. He's like, we all need to buy TK and Dog and forget all the rest of the shit show. Their strength and numbers is everybody could get on the same page, and we could take crypto over with Dog. So I think it's time, man, that you kind of get into some AI projects. Hydro Sapien, I love you, man, but I don't think the runes are going to be leading. Out of I think L1, in my opinion, is not going to be the same as it was a year ago, right? I think that even Leonidas has given up on L1. He's now moved to Solana with his new app Zap, right? So Solana is bridged in by the great guys at RuneMine, and they have pools over there on Solana, and he looks like he's going to try to bring all the runes to Solana. So there's massive amounts of liquidity. So I don't know. Leonidas is giving up on L1.
Yeah, officially. But I will say there's an interview with what's his name? Manad? Was that his name?
Murad, yeah.
Murad, and he was talking about how meme coins that make it are the ones that are going to have to break out of crypto Twitter. I actually think that Dog is going to be big one day, like really big one day, because it has the potential to break out, right? It has like channels, like with Kraken. Now he has the Zap thing. He's trying to bridge it every which way. It is going to take time, but I think it's one of those that can break out of crypto Twitter. It can break out of crypto Twitter, but we obviously need the conditions. The conditions aren't going to support anything like meme wise or risk on.
I disagree. I think everyone loves new shit, Everyone love, every single time Bitcoin's gone up and come back down, we've seen new tokens go crazy, right? I think the older tokens, I think Murad's wrong this time. I think some of the older tokens won't come back, but I do think there's going to be a lot of interest in newer stuff. I do think Doge, Shiba, Pepe, the ones that TradFi's in, I think they do really well. But I think I don't think S&PX and Dog and some of these other ones, Dog with Hat and Popcat. I think a lot of these die off and new stuff comes in. And a lot of those community members kind of go to new stuff.
I think Dog outperforms the ones that you just said. Not Doge and stuff, because like Doge has been around since 2023 or 2013 or 14 when it first was created, and it was revived twice. So for the mainstream retail mania for crypto, they need something they feel like is new. Dog would be new to them. You know what I mean? So if it's reintroduced to them right at that moment, kind of like how Doge was right in 2020, and there obviously has to be big moving things in the background, right? Like Elon got involved with Doge. Obviously, that was a part of the big run up. So I feel like Dog itself is different than like the top 5 Solana meme coins that launched in this year of 2025 or something. I mean, they're so saturated over there. It's been so degen over there. But Dog is the one that represents the Bitcoin roots, right? And so that's where I feel like that opportunity is. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of where I stand with Dog separately.
Yeah, I think you're wrong for the fact that, Nick Szabo has been, somebody who we think is Satoshi, Adam Back, someone who think is Satoshi, and these guys have came out and they said no more spam on Bitcoin, and they're looking at Dog and some of these ordinals and stuff like that, saying that's spam. I don't think they die off, but I think it's going to be it's a lot of these people who are Bitcoin superstars like MicroStrategy and stuff like that. I don't think they're going to allow something like Dog to kind of move up the rankings and get to something like the top 100 for the fact that that's going to create more spam and stuff on Bitcoin. And I think they're going to manipulate this stuff down on purpose. They don't want it there, and I don't think a lot of these maxis and stuff, and a lot of these bigger YouTubers don't talk about ordinals and stuff like that. So I don't think so.
Well, I mean, you still do have people that talk about Dog though, like Wendy O and David whatever Geichenstein or whatever his name is, and like a lot of these people that are kind of waiting for the market conditions to get better. I do think Dog is separates itself a bit, and we'll see who's right on that. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. If they manipulate it, then that's crazy. But we'll see how.
And I don't mean manipulate in a sense of like pushing down. I mean manipulate it by using their words and going.
But I don't think I don't think they'll have an influence on Dog itself though. And the reason why, but they haven't. I feel like they can't push it. They're not pushing it up and they're not pushing it down. But if let's say they try to push it down, but it's like already kind of gone out of the Bitcoin ecosystem anyways. It's like, you get what I'm saying? It's like the people that want it to succeed, they're not a part of that group, and they're not relying on that group for anything because they know they're not going to get anything from them.
Yeah, but you have to remember the same people that are pushing Dog are the same people that are pushing SNEC and bullshit like SNEC, right? It's not going anywhere. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of I just feel like, you know what I mean? Like it had a purpose, but I just don't think I'll make the bet with you. I don't think it'll ever get in the top 100. I think Dog will ever get in the top 100, and I'll put money on that.
Well, it depends.
We can talk about a different show.
Who's in the top 100? Maybe we can put up get a bet together for sure, because that'd be fun to see where it ends up, because I think it's promising itself. Runes in general obviously has gone through a lot of hard times.
I think you're stuck in the Bitcoin ecosystem. I think all Bitcoin ecosystem builders, layer one, they're going to die.
That's not true though. That's not true, because I'm not thinking about any other assets there. Really, maybe some ordinal collections like Node Monks and stuff whenever NFTs come back. But like, I think Dog is different. I think Dog itself is separate outside of like almost all the other assets. But we'll see if I'm wrong or right about that.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell. But I just feel like there's such a chokehold right now from some of these guys that we think is Satoshi, and they're being very vocal right now. So we'll see. OnePlus@ says Bear, no. Merlin's Lucky is here. ASAP Benji is here. Bitcoin is truth, the legend himself. Abstract is here. K99, appreciate you, my friend. Spin Drift is here. Vader Time, Chips and Dip, Glass Hopper, Miss Erdrick with the one that made me break out with a smile. Shout out to you, my friend. Albert Amari, even though you're wrong, I still appreciate you coming in here each and every day, man. Glass Hopper, Stan, Ryan Bolin, Rick G, you guys are awesome today. Super fan, Webdro again. Really love you, Ryan Bolin, with all your comments, man. Really helping the algorithm today. Myself says ETF rumors have been around since the 2017. Yeah, but none of them actually surfaced. Like, I don't remember ever thinking it was even possible.
Well,
even in last cycle.
Yeah, they would. I think they were just kind of used to to get the market excited.
I mean, we had the anti-crypto army at one point. Like, how did you think we were going to get an ETF? Like,
I mean, people, XRP $10,000 coin. You know what I mean? So it's kind of obviously the ETF did play out. I don't think the $10,000 coin is going to play out in my lifetime, but the ETF did play out. But it took a long time.
Yep, and Gary did pass it, so it was a part of that. So it just took his last week in office.
He wanted to be known for something good.
He did, no, 100%. He's always been a Bitcoin max. He's always said Bitcoin's not a security, but he said he wouldn't tell you if ETH was or not. Stan says, can the channel share their top 3 privacy coins? I don't really have a top 3.
Zcash.
Zcash. I mean, what was that one? Starknet?
Dash?
And no, Dash and Starknet, I guess. I'm not really big in privacy.
Yeah, what about Monero? Because Monero, I feel like out of all those, it's crazy because I feel like Monero has the most like it's been known the most out of all of them. But then they just haven't ever gotten love, and they did get 51% attacked, I think, earlier this year. But
I personally hate proof of work coins. I mean, I think Bitcoin's the only one that can withstand. I think everything else proof of work is trash. Just because of the fact you can get 51% attacked and you can't get slashed, right? All you can do is buy a bunch of mining machines or have, a company turn, I mean, so one company took over Zcash, right? They took over the entire hash power and were able to, 51% attack. They said it was an experiment. Well, their experiment worked because they were able to take over the entire chain. I think stay out of anything proof of work. I think it's a terrible idea. Bitcoin's the only one, obviously, because it's so decentralized. Stan says, and would the channel have the skinny on Mimblewimble for Litecoin? So we talked to Adam about that, right?
A little bit. I mean, so talk about tokens that not getting love. I mean, the Litecoin developer foundation, if they have one or whatever, I mean, they haven't really been doing much. So I'm just talking about Mimblewimble. They've been around forever, right? And their privacy. And so, aren't they privacy? I thought that was the whole point of Mimblewimble.
So Litecoin, their update was called Mimblewimble, and that enabled privacy transactions on Litecoin, and that didn't happen until I want to say January of this year is when Mimblewimble went live. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Mimblewimble. Okay, so are there any coins on Litecoin at all? No. Other than just the LTC20s that didn't really catch anything, right?
You can't put real tokens on these chains, right? So
it's the same as Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Yeah, they tried it. I remember that. So Mimblewimble is just the project itself. Then I mean,
no, it's an update. So it's very similar to the Taproot update, right? It was just so Mimblewimble was the update that allowed for these transactions to happen.
Gotcha. I don't know. What do you think about the future of it?
I think privacy for sure. I mean, but if I feel like you could just use Zcash, right? Again, I just don't like proof of work chains. I just don't think that that they're sustainable long term.
Gotcha. And I says Bitcoin bear market confirmed. Not yet. Not just yet. Hold your horses there. And then he says using fear to push people into privacy coins.
I don't understand how fear does that, but I got a couple more comments here. We have Myself says the Winklevoss filed for the first application for a spot ETF in 2013. Yeah, and that's when Barry Silbert realized that wasn't possible, and then he got the trust going. Stan says I'm watching Richard Hart for bull or bear signals. Yeah, Richard Hart starts, dude. Richard Hart's been somebody who's always been. He called the bear market. He called the bull market. If he starts streaming, which is rumored to happen this weekend or Monday, then I think we can potentially say it would happen in the bull market. Ryan says subscribe, like, and share, and let's all learn together. Appreciate you, my friend. Mr. Sheedy, the legendary one himself. Appreciate you, my friend. And right after him was Cheedy, the legend himself. Says, "What's up, guys? I love your blue suit, brother. I'm always gonna say it." Patty Poo, the Bitcoin machine himself. Appreciate you, my friend. Ice says Bitcoin bear market confirmed, using fear to push people into privacy coins. I just don't get why would you be fearful to get in privacy coins? I don't. I guess your government stopping Bitcoin. I don't know.
Yeah, not wanting everything traced, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it was just like a sector that the whales really wanted to pump because there's nothing safe that they could put their money in and make money on.
100%. All right. Let's get into our next thing here, which is news from the trenches. So yesterday, our show was based on Pump Fund's new update. Was that considered an update? I guess it was, right? With their new thing.
Yeah, it's a new token standard.
Okay, that's a standard.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So it's
okay. The Mayhem coins. Yeah, it's a new token.
Mayhem. Yeah,
and it's called 2022. I think is the token standard. Something 2022. And basically what it allows is really, minting the additional 1 billion coins, right? Which a lot of people are kind of not really loving, because that basically you're giving the pump fund agent the ability to sell down on you without, having to buy any of the coins, right? And but news from the trenches is not the easiest thing to get right now, because like everybody's like, broke or like not trying to go into trenches. But I guess like there are some things that I found out yesterday after the first 24 hours of the mayhem mode, to where these tokens get burned, right? And so here's a quick, simple way of looking at it. Whenever you launch a token with mayhem mode, the bot mints an additional 1 billion. So now that token has 2 billion supply. It's going to, buy and sell. Initially, it's going to sell down some of those tokens, is usually how it works. And then it will start to buy and sell based on, what it believes to be like good opportunities to get some momentum going for that coin, or et cetera, right? It has 24 hours to really do those things. It's not guaranteed to buy that coin or anything, but if there's any motion in that coin, typically it will. And so, but after 24 hours, what it has left and hasn't sold down, it will burn those tokens, right? So I went through some of the tokens that were launched yesterday, and I'm going to show my screen here. Let me remove that one and show this one. Okay. So some of the tokens yesterday that were 24 hours expired, right? That were the top two. There was this one called Savior that kind of just had every
sorry about that.
It had every analytic like that says stay away from this. 90% in the top 10, 39% of it's like the phishing or holding 39%. So then I just was like, okay, we'll see what the supply is on this. And then you just grab that address here, and you go to SoulScan, right? I don't know what the heck. Should have had that ready. But anyways, you can see the market cap is at 838,000. And you're kind of like scratching your head. How is it sustaining that, right? And you can actually see here too, the number one holder right here, right? You can see he has like $515 remaining. So it doesn't seem like there's that much. Well, actually, let me pull this up right here to where it's showing remaining. Okay. Right here. This is actually the number one holder. They have $736,000 worth of this coin remaining. So I was like, who's this huge whale, right? And then you click on it, and then I researched his address. So someone had sent $736,000 worth of this token to Elon's address. So this is Elon's address. So if we go to SolScan and you can see what the remaining supply is after the bot burned it, right? It's loading here, but I'll just tell you what it is. So the bot burned around, actually it burned the billion, close to $1 billion, and then someone else sent more to it to burn more. So the total amount burned was 1.2 billion. And then this person sent like, I think it's 780 million to Elon's wallet. So now you only have 110 million total circulating for this coin. So I'm just like, okay, that's kind of makes sense. Like, you know, that's why it's sustaining its price. There's no new buyers really coming into it. People are just kind of checking it out. But the supply had decreased from 2 billion to 110 million now. So that is one of the examples of an extreme kind of burn situation. And the second one is this token called Mayfu bot, which was kind of like a meme of they're kind of making fun of the pump fund bot. And that kind of similar situation happened, right? So if you go here, it's sitting at $232,000 market cap. But those are the top two, but it had all the analytics too to stay away from it. 90% top 10, et cetera, et cetera. But if you look here, you can look at the address right here. The top holder holds $181,000 of this token. And the top address, I've looked up the address, it is the actual bot. So the bot is for some reason holding this, but it's already past 24 hours. So, you know, there's this supply minus the bot has gone down to like 210 million. So those are the only two that I found that kind of had these like supply burn anomalies. You know what I'm saying? So, but everybody hates mayhem. So no one's really buying into these tokens. So that is something, I guess, that, you know, just through research, I pulled that up to kind of, I was looking to see what was the burn going to be like, what kind of impact it would have, right? And so that's pretty much the most, I guess, impact that I saw with the burns. But other than that, you know, the trenches have been pretty quiet. You know, there was a token that jumped into mayhem mode this morning called Mick Wojak, and it was a play off of Wojak working at McDonald's. It got to 10 million, but now it's sitting at 250,000. It jumped all the way to 250,000. So it's dangerous out there. Be careful.
This is the same coin we're talking about when it was at 5 million, 6 million, and went to 250,000.
It went to 10 million, and now it's sitting at 250,000. It's sitting at 250,000.
Wow.
Right. So you got to be very, very careful in the trenches. You know, in general, that should already be like a, you know, given, but even more so right now, because until things get better, right, everybody's going to be, you know, in stable, or they're going to be looking for maybe kind of what you were talking about, getting into like some blue chips that are on discount. So that is news from the trenches today, which is pretty drastic, or pretty, I guess, I don't know, in terms of like that going from 10 million to 200,000, that's pretty crazy.
The trenches is, it's like kind of going to your local city dump, walking in and kind of looking around and trying to find something like you could sell, and then you pick it up and a snake comes out and bites you in the neck. That's kind of how it feels like the trenches are right now. It's like it's absolutely insane. And ICE calls it a Ponzi scheme. And he said, "Imagine getting wrecked by an AI bot."
Well, I mean, I feel like Ponzi scheme's better. Ponzi scheme's better because at least if you get in early in the Ponzi, like you could get to like 75% up the pyramid, right? But anyways.
Oh my goodness. Any last words about the trenches? So I guess my only question about it would be: are you going to continue to look at these, or is this kind of wiped from your mind after seeing this last one?
Oh, I'm gonna constantly pay attention to it, because you never know when, like, when Pepe came out, it was early 2023. Like people were healing from like, you know, 2022, and you know, early 2023 happened, and Pepe came out of nowhere, right? And so who knows when that could be? You know, am I gonna be like playing constantly? No, not until like the conditions are better. But it's obviously the high, you know, the furthest on the spectrum for risk on, right? But you do have people trying to change the culture a bit, like the America.fund group, and we'll get into that on Tuesday, and trying to create a less risky environment. We'll see how things go.
Yep. Really excited for that one, actually. If you guys definitely tune in on Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern time, we're gonna have somebody from
Ogle.
WillFi. I mean, Ogle from WillFi. So I don't know from the WillFi team, but he's an advisor for that team for sure. So I guess it's safe to say kind of with the team. All right, so let's kind of get into the next thing here. All right, so on November 13th, MSTR traded at about 0.977 MNAV, meaning the company was valued at a slight discount to the net value of its Bitcoin holdings for the first time since January 2024. So it's not like the first time this happened. Michael Saylor says, there's no truth to the rumors that Strategy's been selling Bitcoin. They were actually just moving Bitcoin from one wallet to another, kind of breaking it down in their self-custodian wallets that they have over there. But the whole internet went nuts this morning over Walter Bloomberg's tweet about Michael Arkham, Saylor's strategy cuts Bitcoin holdings by 47,000 Bitcoin. Did not happen. Saylor actually came into the same tweet that started the rumor, and he says there is no truth to this rumor. And then Saylor came out and he posted this picture of him in a lifeboat. What does this mean? Why is he in a lifeboat? Why is the boat on fire? Is he just saying I'm surviving? What do you think this tweet was about?
Like he's gonna survive while everybody's burning down, I guess. Everybody's panicking, and he's like, "No, I got my lifeboat," and I guess he's gonna let everybody else die. I don't know. You can't get on my lifeboat. This is a one-person lifeboat.
And then he goes on CNBC this morning and says, we're still buying. We're buyers in this market. He comes in and says so. But it's crazy though that they're trading below MNAV. MNAV is basically their Bitcoin valuation is more than the whole entire company is worth. Isn't that insane? They have more Bitcoin in the treasury than the entire. How is that even possible?
Well, you have to keep that way, or then people are going to freak out, right? Because like if it dips below that, then you're actually, I think legally, a certain number you have to start selling, right?
No, you don't have to. It's just someone can come in and purchase your Bitcoin and the company's free. You know what I mean? At that point, I guess that's scary to people. I don't know. But no, you don't have to. You don't have to sell down anything. It's just
the shareholders will be. So basically, if you let it go too low, then you will cause like controversy with the shareholders and all that stuff. Is what it is, right?
So what he did in the beginning was he took MicroStrategy stock and he put that up for a loan. So you put that up and you borrow against it. If the stock price ever went below liquidation levels, then he would have to sell down some of the Bitcoin to pay down, so make sure that it gets back up. So the stock price does need to be going up for him to stay above liquidation. But I think his liquidation levels are pretty low in the sense, I mean, they are down 50% this year. MicroStrategy is year over year. But I think that they need to go around probably another 50%. So the only way he would really need to sell Bitcoin is if he got margin called.
Yeah, and well, I mean, I think that's kind of how all NAV companies work that use NAV, right? For these DAT companies, and so I'm just curious, but like he does have a pretty big cushion, right? He's at he says, will Saylor be liquidated at 75K? I thought it was lower than that.
No, so it's not Bitcoin's price; it's MSTR's price that he'll get liquidated. So he didn't borrow against his Bitcoin. He's borrowing against his.
Well, no, because the Bitcoin value, if it goes below a certain level too, though, then he'll have to sell some of it.
No, because there's companies out there that have billions of dollars in their treasury, and their company's not worth billions of dollars. So they actually trade below MNAV as well, but they're sitting on cash. He's just doing it with Bitcoin. In that sense, so no, he does not.
But if he hits the margin call, then that's the
that's the MSTR. But apparently, it would need to drop another 50% for him to get margin called, because he was borrowing, pretty low when his share blew up, right? His share did, I want to say like 30, 40, 50, 60x, like something crazy like that. So, I mean, he would need to drop pretty drastically to get margin called. Remember in 2022, everyone was like, oh, Saylor, if Bitcoin got to 6K, Saylor would get liquidated. Saylor doesn't take loans against the Bitcoin. He takes loans against the MSTR, right? So what they can do, potentially they could sell some of the Bitcoin and purchase MSTR, right? And that would solve the problem. But no one wants him to sell any Bitcoin at all. So worst case scenario, he would have to sell a couple $2 billion in Bitcoin and buy back MSTR.
Yeah, but that would be a horrible situation from optics.
Would it though? Because he is
Yes.
buying MSTR, and now which would MSTR price would go up, and it would allow him to borrow against it again when Bitcoin's price action goes back up.
Yeah, but
so I think it would be a
you have to
Band-Aid.
wait, but you would have to wait for like good market conditions for more people to pile into MSTR, and they'll know that he's doing it only to put the Band-Aid on there. So I don't think you're gonna get believer buyers for the stock. It would all be manipulated by whoever he's trying to sell into, to say, hey, look, I need you to invest more into this to kind of help the situation or whatever. I think from an optics standpoint, from the Bitcoin market, it would be horrible if he were to sell, and that's why I think everybody's like, I mean, you saw it. You saw like he reacted very quickly. Obviously, it wasn't a true statement. That's why he did it as well. But it just would be a bad situation.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to get anywhere near a margin call. But if you look at MSTR right now, I mean, the chart looks brutal. I mean, it's one of the worst looking charts I've seen here. So it's just got a double top pattern. It has everything on this chart is basically saying that this thing's going to go lower. It could have bottomed here though. But I think look at this. I mean, look at this rise. This is when he first bought Bitcoin. I mean, think about that. This is when Saylor bought Bitcoin. September, October. This is kind of when I got in the same time Saylor did. This is like my first couple months in crypto. And look, I mean, if he was borrowing back here and borrowing here, I mean, he's still fine for a long time. So, but yeah, man, we'll see what happens if he ends up getting a margin called. But then we'll see what he has to do there. I think he's fine. I'm not worried about Saylor. I'm not worried about MicroStrategy. I think Bitcoin's price is going to go up. You're going to see strategy go back up. They're going to get further and further away from the margin call, and then we won't really see anything from that in the future there. So,
yep.
We got some comments from Ice here. He says, "Less risky equals more regulated, centralized control. Will Saylor be liquidated?" I don't know where people get this number from. He's not going to get liquidated. So he didn't borrow against his Bitcoin. He's borrowing against his stock. So as long as the stock stays above his borrowing price, he's fine. S&P is tied to 401ks. If it falls, BTC falls, he's in jeopardy. And then they will running for the exits. I don't know where you're getting this from, Ice. I like you, bro, but you're a little crazy, my friend. But it's time to get into our next segment here. So every Friday, we're lucky enough to have the great guys from Emblem Vault, Agent Hustle, Migrate.fun. These guys are building something absolutely awesome. And it started with Emblem Vault. Emblem Vault is back in the news now because these guys are doing working with the Nakamoto strategy, right? The Nakamoto cards are something that have been, absolutely insane. I mean, just like 200 grand for, and no one really knows about them. Everyone talks about the punks, but Nakamoto cards are actually, in my opinion, a better strategy. And they're working with the same people who did punk strategy. It was a Token Works.
Token Works.
Token Works, and it's absolutely awesome that they're being the custodian technically because they're using the Emblem vaults to help them with this, and that's been huge. But not just that though. Obviously, I said Agent Hustle. Agent Hustle is now conditional is now working with Hedera Hashgraph, which is awesome. You can use meme job and stuff like that. You'll be using Hedera on Hustle. EVM, they have EVM, they have Ethereum there as well. Ethereum conditional goes live very, very soon as well. Absolutely awesome. These guys are building so quickly.
Yep.
So without further ado, let's bring up Jake. Jake, welcome back to the show, man. How you doing?
What's good, fellas? Happy Friday, man. Seems like every time we have these conversations, the market is just like on fire from the bad way.
Yeah. Why is it that? And why does it feel like every Friday we're just red?
Dump on Friday and Trump pumps it on Sunday. It's just like that's like the typical playbook, at least from what he's been doing for this second term.
Yeah, it would be perfect for him to do that this this week because we've touched the 50-week SMA, and every time we touch that, we either have an aggressive push to the upside for the next following weeks, or we start the bear market. So we're gonna figure out if we end the weekly candle below that or not this week. But yeah.
Hey man, what did I say about a month ago when we came on the show? That it was going to be choppy for a few months, and I still think around holidays it picks back up. So I do think we have probably about another month of chop. So please allow your boredom to not let you get wrecked.
Well, there is areas though you can make money still in this market if you're paying attention.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
One of those areas has been you guys are helping TokenWorks build, and that's the Nakamoto cards. You break that down for us, maybe someone who hasn't been paying attention.
The NFT strategies are actually kind of interesting. I've been watching it. I think the 10% swap fee of it actually limits some of the downside because people don't want to take that, although it is kind of baked in. So NFT strategies is a new design space for NFTs. It was created by a company called TokenWorks that launched the first collection called Punk Strategy about 2 months ago. I actually put a thread out about this yesterday, really good. So anyone who's not familiar with strategies and what we're doing with Nakamoto strategy, I advise to go look at that. It'll give you a lot of information. You could kind of look at it a few ways. The main point is that it's probably the biggest thing to happen to NFTs in 2025. And I generally don't say that lightly. It's got a lot of attention. It's a flywheel mechanism. You could call it I like to consider it an incentive template, but there are flywheel mechanisms. Call it an ERC20 wrapper. There's a bunch of different ways. But in short, it builds on the idea of what Michael Saylor has built with strategy, formerly known as MicroStrategy. This idea of buying tokens, issuing debt, to then buy the tokens back again, right? This is the playbook that Michael Saylor has been doing for 5 years now at this point. Adam, who's a creator of TokenWorks, basically took this idea and built an on-chain version of it for NFTs. And the simple version is that there's a token. So we'll talk about Nakamoto strategy. So Nakamoto strategy, there's a token called NakaStrategy, or NAKASTR. It's an ERC20 token. Anytime that token is purchased, there's a 10% swap fee. Of that 10% swap fee, 80% of that goes to the on-chain Nakamoto strategy treasury. The other 10% of that goes to buying and burning Punk Strategy, which is the first strategy token. And the other 10% of that 10% swap fee, so 1% swap fee, goes to creator royalties, which is being paid to Emblem. What happens here is once the on-chain Nakamoto strategy treasury reaches the floor price of the lowest listed Nakamoto card, the official name is called Rare Pape, it will buy that Nakamoto card. So currently the Nakamoto floor is 40 ETH. It's actually higher than CryptoPunks. I actually put a post out today that the entire market cap of the Nakamoto card itself, it's a 40 ETH floor. It's about 100K, we'll just say for simple value, of 300 supply. I think right now it's actually 125K. So it's about a $40 million market cap for the Nakamoto cards. It's 30% higher than the highest ordinals collection, which is 10K. Right, so very valuable collection. So when the treasury, the on-chain Nakamoto treasury reaches 40 ETH, it'll buy that Nakamoto card and relist it 20% higher. So it'll relist it at 48 ETH. And then whenever anybody purchases it on the secondary market, obviously the protocol can't purchase it because it owns the asset. Anytime somebody goes and buys that Nakamoto card for 48 ETH, it'll take all 48 ETH and buy Nakamoto strategy ERC20 token and burn all of it with that 48 ETH. So you'll see some gigantic candles when that does happen.
That's
right.
That's insane. That's enough to take this thing 10x.
Right. Yeah. So our goal here, we have a handful of objectives. There's probably we laid it out in one of our team calls. There's about 10 different outcomes that we're looking for. I think if we could get 2 or 3 of them, then we're in a good position. Anything more than that is just like it puts us in an incredible position. And what I mean by this is you have Emblem that's being introduced into this. You have the Nakamoto cards and Rare Pape that's being introduced, as well as TokenWorks in general. So first and foremost, right, getting the price of the Nakamoto strategy token as high as possible, right? One of the priorities. The other priority is getting the Nakamoto strategy treasury to buy the Nakamoto cards itself, right? Getting more volume on that. So you continue the flywheel of it. Some other things that we're looking for objectives is increasing the awareness of Rare Pape in general. It's funny because as we launched it, there was tons of stuff on the timeline of people saying they had no idea what Nakamoto strategy was. Actually, when Nakamoto strategy was launched, a lot of people thought it was Nakamigos. And so people started sweeping Nakamigos when it was announced.
Oh my God.
People had no idea what it was. So, you know, to us who's been building in the space for a long time, like, it's kind of crazy that people still have no idea what Rare Pape is, but that's one of the main purposes, right? To get people to know what Rare Pape is. Obviously, with increased Rare Pape exposure, it means that there's more Emblem exposure and awareness, which then introduces new people to the Emblem community to then utilize to have to then tokenize their collections or bridge their NFT collections on Ethereum, and then maybe even issue a TokenWorks collection themselves. We've actually had 3 calls this week, 2 ordinal collections and a Solana collection, about using Emblem to launch a TokenWorks strategy. We went on the ordinal show on Monday, and Trevor from Pizza Ninjas expressed very strong interest in a TokenWorks collection, as well as we think there's a handful of other good opportunities. At the end of the day, this is something that we've been pitching since I joined the team in 2022, is that if you're a Bitcoin NFT collection, there's no reason why you shouldn't have at least 5 or 10% of your collection on Ethereum, so that you are entering the largest NFT market in the world that has, you know, 10x to 100x more liquidity than what's on native Bitcoin. Your increased awareness and exposure, and better trading and financial tools. And with this then comes the integration into different farming systems, trading bot networks, and just meeting the users really where they are. At the end of the day, I put a post out yesterday about comparing what Leo's doing with Zap to what Emblem did with Bitcoin NFTs, right? What is Leo and Zap doing? He's realizing that they have a top collection in this Runes protocol on Bitcoin, and that it has tons of users, but it's hard to reach. So what is he doing? He's using Solana to meet users where they're at, right? To then increase the demand and exposure of DOG. This is the same thing Emblem's been doing for 5 years now with Rare Pape. Rare Pape, one of the most historic and most valuable collections in NFTs. It's worth $350 million market cap, which I think as of today puts it at, I think, the second most valuable collection, right behind CryptoPunks, if I did the math correctly. And Rare Pape used Emblem to enter the most liquid market and meet NFT traders where they are on Ethereum, right? And that is not going to change as much as people on Bitcoin want to, you know, try to keep everything on native on layer 1. You know, I completely agree with that. But at the end of the day, you need to meet people where they are. Where are NFT traders? They are on Ethereum. And so what does TokenWorks do? It introduces an incentive model for teams on Bitcoin to get a percentage of their supply on Ethereum through Emblem Vault, and then make money off of it through the 1% royalties. One kind of layer on top of Nakamoto strategy. And again, I highly advise people to go look at the thread that I put out yesterday. It's an incentive framework that I explained of how it works, right? You 10% swap fee. A portion of that goes to the treasury to buy the NFTs list higher to then burn the token. But there's a lot of other teams who are building additional flywheels and tokenomics on top of it. And when we went and looked at TokenWorks, all of the top NFT projects have a TokenWorks collection already. Yuga's participating, Moonbirds are participating, Pudgy Penguins are participating. You even have Rect is participating. They created an ERC20 version. Ours is the first ERC 1155. So we have all of the main projects already committing to this. And what we're doing is we're taking 3 different revenues and applying it to buying back Nakamoto strategy. So we're taking, and we announced all of the OpenSea royalties that we get from Rare Pepe, we're putting towards buying Nakamoto strategy token. It's not that much because royalties are optional, but what I've seen is that any WETH bid that's accepted, there is that 5% royalty that's paid towards it. So, and there's a lot of WETH bids that are accepted. We're taking all of our Pepe vaulting revenue at $20 per and putting that towards buying Nakamoto strategy. Right now, last month, we actually had our lowest vault minting or vault mints ever at 400 at $20 per, so about $8,000 in revenue. But the average is about 1,500 vault mints per month, right? So if you times that by 20, it's about $30,000 that'll be going towards buying Nakamoto strategy, as well as the 1% TokenWorks royalty that we are working on, or that we're using to buying Nakamoto strategy. We are in conversations with TokenWorks currently about implementing a flywheel mechanic for all of the new projects who use Emblem Vault to launch their own TokenWorks collection. So there could potentially be a fourth model there to be introduced to the flywheel. It will depend on the demand of projects that will be bridging over and using TokenWorks. We do have one firm, pretty hard confirmation for an awesome ordinal collection that's quite popular, or it has a lot of notoriety in the space that I think will be a pretty good first project to launch. So ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do here is restart the Emblem ecosystem. There's over 100 million in TVL that's just sitting there. And this was the perfect opportunity to go ahead and try to position ourselves as a leader in one of the most innovative sectors to come to NFTs in a year.
Dude, first of all, I feel like the collectible community, or the collectibles community within NFTs and stuff, is so young still because you compare it to other stuff. But when you talk about Rare Pepes, because you taught me and Shizzy about that in 2023, I think, when we had you on our first show.
The first ever DeFi discussions, right? Isn't
Yes. Which, I mean, to this day, we're so thankful for you jumping on. We were nobodies, and you taught us so much about the historical NFT world. But I look at it like this, 20 years down the line, the way that like some of these old heads in the sports card world talk about like the 86 Fleer Jordan stuff, they're going to talk about like Rare Pepes being like the first Bitcoin NFTs and all these things. And I think Ordinals has a really big upside because of that. But you guys were the first to bring Bitcoin NFTs to Ethereum back in 2021, I think it was. Would you say the strategy is kind of the biggest kind of splash that Rare Pepes have had in a while?
I wouldn't say for Rare Pepe specifically. It's been dormant in terms of volume. The one thing that we know, at least from our perspective, is that the NFT market generally doesn't run unless Rare Pepe is running. I kind of see it as like the Dogecoin of NFTs. Because there's so many collections and so much volume, you can really have this downstream effect where if the Nakamoto card sells, and if you get a few of these selling, all of the largest collectors in the world own a Nakamoto card. The largest Emblem Vault holder is Punk6529. They have like a few hundred vaults that they own. They own multiple Nakamoto cards. They own one of ones. We have a really close relationship with them, as well as people like Farouk and OSF. And a lot of the biggest people have Nakamoto cards. So you get 2 or 3 of these bought by the treasury, they are going to start talking about it because the value of their bags are going up, right? And with that, then the Nakamoto cards that sell, some of the holders will put some of that value back into Rare Pepe itself. And so you can see then the 50 or 40 ETH volume, right? Then it'll trickle down to other Rare Pepes, and then you get this whole ecosystem running, which then continues the flywheel of Nakamoto strategy, the token, to go up, right? Obviously, we have to generate that interest and revenue, so we need to get the first few purchased for that. But I don't think it's the best thing to happen in Rare Pepe yet. But I do see a future in 2026 where it can bring the most amount of attention Rare Pepe seen in quite some time because of the speculative manner. Because as we know, the most effective marketing in this space is number go up technology. And if the Nakamoto strategy token is going up, people are going to be buying it, and then people are going to be looking into Rare Pape. And hey, if 1% of Nakamoto strategy holders end up buying a few Rare Papes, right now there's 250 Nakamoto strategy token holders. You get that to 2,000 to 5,000, and we bring in another 100 people to buying Rare Papes. To me, that's a big W at the end. And at the face value, even just being aware of it, there's no reason why the floor of a Nakamoto card is not like 5x what a CryptoPunk is. Like, just because of this, the pure supply dynamics, 300 versus 10,000, they're both on the same legitimacy. I don't think there's any other assets. Maybe Bored Apes. Maybe you put Apes, Rare Pape, and CryptoPunks as the 3 top collections to bring awareness and adoption to NFTs in general. But Rare Pape is where all the inspirations come from. Matt and John, who created CryptoPunks, literally have tweets saying that they were inspired by Rare Pape to create CryptoPunks. So it started with Rare Pape. It's the largest collection. It's the 2nd or 3rd most valuable collection in the entire industry. It's because it's on Bitcoin. It has there is trouble purchasing it, but through Emblem Vault, it makes it publicly available. And we're just trying to show to all the other ordinal owners out there that, hey, look, Rare Pape has been doing this for years. They have found a lot of success, and here's your opportunity to get some percentage of your supply on Ethereum so that you could participate with the rest of the community. On top of this, a lot of NFT holders do not want to deal with the mempool. And when you use Emblem Vault and tokenize them on Ethereum, there's no mempool sniping. There's no way it's instant. And it's time for NFT communities on Bitcoin to get in line with the rest of the market. And if you're not going to meet people where they're at, then the whole industry is kind of just going to fall apart, which is where it is today.
I was going to ask you, so do you think that, let's say node monks, I know there's already some lined up to come over, but let's say a couple of these puppets and stuff, they see like the success Nakamoto has, and some of maybe a couple of the ordinals that go over. Do you think that they're going to start just saying, hey, look, I mean, this is the best for our collection, for our community, and they're going to start piling up?
The tribalism is definitely getting in the way. Unfortunately, I think some of the collections will probably never move over because of that. I think it's just going to completely decapitate the growth moving forward, because it's always on Ethereum. You see all of the runes are using Near and ICP and Solana to trade. Why is Ordinals not doing something similar and going to the most liquid market for NFTs, which is Ethereum? And you can use Emblem Vault's the only way to do this. Emblem Vault is literally the only NFT bridge that exists right now. I know Larry Zero has our OFT standard, but it does not support Bitcoin NFT. So we're literally the only player in the industry. We've been around for 10 years. We have a lot of camaraderie. We have a lot of pull within the Bitcoin space, and we want to help people to do that. And I think TokenWorks is the best opportunity to incentivize people to bridge their stuff over. This one team that we're going to be launching with, I think is going to show everyone and prove everyone wrong. We have relationships with Gandhi, which is the largest NFT lending platform, much larger than Liquidium, no shame to them. And we can help, your projects get listed on Gandhi. Taproot Wizards is listed there. We have a collection with Taproot Wizards. Node Monkeys is listed on Gandhi. People lend against their Node Monkeys every once in a while. Rare Pepe's there, and Spells of Genesis is there. And it's just time for people to come in line. And we're just trying to use Nakamoto strategy as a way to showcase that all this stuff is possible. And every few years, something like this happens. Happened with Rare Pepe and Counterparty in 2021. Happened with Ordinals in 2023. And 2025, 2026 could be an opportunity for more collections to get in line with where the rest of the market is and meet the users where they are.
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually in the camp that thinks that like building and being on L1 Bitcoin is kind of something like last year, right? I feel like it's time for us to kind of grow up a little bit and move everything off of Bitcoin onto these other chains. I think if to your point, if puppets and Node Monkeys don't actually go and do something like this and get 10, 15, 20% of supply on Ethereum, then I think other Bitcoin ordinal collections that do are going to pass them in value. I think there's just too much money on ETH, and people on ETH actually like to play in these assets. They're not there to just kind of like the Bitcoin guys just hold my pet rock and that's it. Where you're seeing like 5% of the Bitcoin supply actually participate. You're seeing 50% of the ETH supply actually participate in stuff happening on chain, right? So I'm in the camps thinking like, I think a lot of these builders like Liquidium, they're going to have to pivot and start offering ETH style, loans and stuff like that, which I think they're already kind of have that mindset. I think Bitcoin builders right now are in trouble. And if they don't, start to put on some big boy pants and start participating in some of this ETH stuff. So that's just kind of where I am.
One final thing here is,
yeah.
I would challenge any ordinal collection owner to talk with us. Even if you don't want to do TokenWorks collection, ask us how you could bridge over, a portion of your supply. We actually have collections for a lot of them, but I would say bridge 5% of your supply. And then when you market the Bitcoin address or the Bitcoin collection and the Ethereum address, and literally watch for 6 months and see where the volume goes. And I almost guarantee that the majority of the volume is going to be on Ethereum. And eventually over time, people don't even realize that they're Bitcoin NFTs. And to be honest, it probably doesn't even matter. Like, look at the way that Leo's pivoting, and with Dog, like a lot of time you don't even have to mention that Dog is a Bitcoin asset because most people do not care. And so I just think if you're effective and you are an ordinal collection, right? Or it could be Alkanes or Tap or whoever it is, Stamps, right? Counterparty. If you just simply market the Ethereum collection, you can market the Bitcoin one as well. You will attract new buyers. It's like if you're selling an asset in the real world, you're listing it on Etsy, you're listing it on eBay, you're listing it on all of these marketplaces. I don't know why in the digital space people think that it's different, but human nature does not change. And so you want to be where the liquidity is, and liquidity is on Ethereum. And I think TokenWorks is actually going to reinforce that, in that I don't think it's going to change.
And I think that the ETH ecosystem too is matured a bit. And so I think Solana is where ETH was in 2021 in terms of maturity. You had the youngest people on Ethereum during that time and all that stuff, right? And I think the buyer is going to be a more serious buyer as time goes on Ethereum with the NFT market. You're going to see more of the collectible type of culture there eventually. I mean, Bitcoin has it. And to the Bitcoin ecosystems, I guess to give them some points here, when the market was good, like the trading was there. It wasn't like they were holding on to them like rocks, but it's a more mature ecosystem on Ethereum just because they really created the kind of on-chain economy for NFTs that were like volume and stuff. So I do think that, we hopefully go to a future to where it is more cross. And look, if you are an ordinal founder and you want to give your collection a boost, and you had momentum before and you just want to give it a boost, I suggest doing this. Try something different.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Ordinals are in quite a bad place right now. I like ordinals, right? But the majority of people like ordinals. They just don't want to have to deal with multiple wallets. They don't want to have to deal with multiple chains. They don't want to have to deal with waiting. They just all want to be in one space. This is exactly the same thesis we're doing with Agent Hustle, with AI, putting all of the different chains in one simple interface for people to trade with, because that is where the industry is going. It is going to be an interoperability and intelligence super cycle. That's the reason why I titled this as I posted on my show, because that's where everything is heading, is interoperability. And I just hope the ordinal communities, can bypass their tribalistic takes and really just participate in where the market is going. It's unfortunate that, that type of stuff still exists. I get people don't like ETH, or they're anti-bridging because they think that they're going to get hacked, or there's security concerns. I completely understand that, but reach out if you do want to participate and be where all the liquidity is, and we can talk through every single question and strategy point that you may have.
Could you do an uncommon fat strategy?
Yeah,
I would bridge those over right away. Because like me and shit, well, I'm just saying, because like we talked about trying to make those fungible. Obviously, this is in a sense more of like a workaround of that. But you know, I mean, they're still going for what, $80 or something like that.
We could create a strategy for anything. We could do it for rare sats. I think Runestone would be like a good collection. I think Puppets, Node Monkeys. Trevor has already expressed he's very interested for Pizza Ninjas. You know, so maybe he'll be the person through the door to lead everybody else. Taproot Wizards, Quantum Cats, OMB is a good one. That'll probably be the hardest one because I think they're like the most maximalist. And there's a few other smaller collections that have reached out but still have notoriety. On-Chain Monkey would be a good one. Literally all of them. Literally I'm just saying 5% of your collection. It's not even a lot. If you're 10K, 500 of them over, and just look at the exposure that it gets. I think it'll be quite surprising for majority of people.
Yeah, and think about it for a second too. What if the guys from MicroStrategy actually took all their node monkeys, put them in vaults, traded them on OpenSea? They could probably get 10, 30, 40, maybe 50%, more value over there, honestly, right? So you could actually list them higher and do exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, and OpenSea has reached out to us, by the way. OpenSea is very interested in what's going on here with the strategy stuff. They've listed the Nakamoto strategy token on the Rare Pepe page, and they want to do co-marketing, and they're interested to see if other Bitcoin collections are going to come over. So we've been in conversations with OpenSea for a long time, but this is the first time in maybe a year or two where they've reached out to us and said that they're interested in what's going on. And actually, apparently their CEO wants to learn more about Rare Pepe. So I'm supposed to be expecting a DM from their CEO because he wants to learn more. And it's because of the Nakamoto strategy token. So just the things you could do when you experiment across chain in the place where literally all the eyeballs are it's not surprising to us, but it'll be surprising to those when you get past your tribalism.
Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Rare Sats Dom. So I don't know if you knew this, Jake, but there's one community member that we can summon if we say the phrase rare Sats. And just like clockwork, he's in here. He says rare Sats on a fast network. Yes. But yeah. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the other things that we're kind of working on, Shannon announced that we were doing X402. But we are building smart vaults. And so smart vaults will come with our fungible token bridge. So if you want to turn rare sats into an SPL token, or if you want to turn them into an ERC20 token on ETH or Base or something, that'll be available here in the next few months. Obviously, you have to see the liquidity pool, but we are coming out with a fungible token bridge, hopefully in the next quarter or two. We are going to be bridging Hustle to Hedera. We want to bridge Hustle to BNB or BSC as well as Base. Those are kind of the three main areas. But you could take Pepe Cash from Counterparty, bridge it over as an SPL or an ERC20, wherever you want. We can do this with rare sats. And so look out for that. Or we turn rare sats, we put them as an ERC 721 NFT collection, and you put, I don't know, 1,000 rare sats or whatever the sats are per vault. And trade it as a strategy. A lot of opportunity. Again, just reach out to us, reach out to me, reach out to Adam, reach out to the Emblem account, and we can discuss what opportunities are there.
Yeah, let's summon Quarry, man. Get to it, dude. That'd be cool for Magisat to actually be a part of that. So, but you mentioned Agent Hustle, so let's kind of jump over to what you guys are doing with that. So now officially, we have Ethereum, we have Hedera and Solana, but something new hit this, which is conditional trades. You can now officially do conditional trades with Hedera. Absolutely amazing. We're going to be doing a full tutorial on this in the coming days, so definitely stay tuned for that. And you guys can learn exactly how to use Hustle on Hedera, but you say ETH here, and it looks like that's potentially coming soon as well.
Yeah, so ETH is there. I saw Bratoshi was purchasing Nakamoto strategy through these swaps in Agent Hustle, and Agent Hustle was giving him his points on the Nakamoto strategy. So pretty cool to see the crossover there. Hedera conditional, the first launch of our maybe even V3, I guess. We hired a separate developer we brought onto the team who's been working on the conditional engine for 2.5 months now at this point. And so this is the first release, and then it's going to be applied to all other EVMs. So ETH mainnet, we are working on BNB and Polygon. So those will be the next two chains. So that'll be expanded there. And then we're going to move the Solana conditional engine to this new one to improve on it. So we appreciate everyone who's been working with us over the last 6 months while we work out a lot of the bugs. It is a very, very complicated thing to work on, but no doubt in my mind, the conditional engine is where to go. The only other competitor we really have in this conditional engine area is Banker, who also has a conditional engine and who they have APIs for. So we're competing with them in that sense, but rather than competition, it's we're growing the idea together. Wayfinder might also actually have something as well for this, but it's just, it leads to the future of where trading is going, where the condition can be executed right now on market triggers, right? So things like buy H bar when the price drops by 10%, sell it when it increases by 30%. But then you want to add social triggers, event triggers, time triggers, right? So buy H bar and then sell in 60 seconds, buy H bar and sell when somebody tweets about the Canary H bar ETF, right? That's like a social trigger. Or you could do event triggers and cross it over where it's like, hey, buy H bar and then sell it when this poly market closes, kind of thing, or reaches conclusion. That's the direction that we're building towards this. That's how AI is going to interact with crypto on chain. And I'm excited to roll it out with Hedera. They've been great partners. They see the vision. The whole thesis behind that is Hedera is moving to AI. They realize and are on completely same page with us that most people in moving into the future are going to be using LLMs to trade crypto because that is the most popular interface and where people are most experienced with. And they want to basically start offering that. They're in what I like to classify as hard to reach chains, things like Hedera, XRP, right, Tron, Stacks, a bunch of the L2s, right, that are not as much interoperable with Ethereum, but they are kind of their own independent networks. Most of their users do not interact with their on-chain ecosystem. So the Hedera on-chain ecosystem is quite small. It's like 100 million TVL. So very, very small, right? That's like one chain, or that's like one token on Solana and some capacities. So they think partnering here with Hustle, as well as they have a larger AI push happening, they could push all of their HBAR users to use Agent Hustle to interact with the on-chain economy. It's still very early. There's only a few thousand people using AI terminals in crypto right now, but expect over the next, 1 to 3 years to see that increase by a few multiples.
I'm curious from what you've seen so far with Hedera, what are they mostly focused on over there? I've done some research on them. I know they have, their kind of corporate backing as well and kind of techie. Do they have a meme coin culture? Are they more utility focused? I'm curious what you've seen so far.
It seems like it's more utility infrastructure focused. We did integrate Meme Job. That's their launch pad. So, they're kind of just preparing for whenever that time comes for more people to come on chain. But all the largest projects are all the infrastructure projects, things like Saucer Swap, their lending platform that has a token. I forget what it's called. But even just asking Hustle, hey, what are the top projects on Hedera? It'll give you Saucer Swap and a bunch of infra projects. And then I think Gib is like the big meme coin that's on there, which is only like Gib, yeah. It's like a $3 million market cap, right? That's the biggest one that's on that's on Hedera, right? So I mean, you're fun looking at that. Like you're going from high to low. That's all the projects from their meme coin launchpad, right? So very, very small in today's sense. And you could see Gib is really taking off. And so the majority of the other projects are ones that have or the ones that have infrastructure and some capacity. So still very, it's like literally like Ethereum in 2017 for their on-chain economy. It's very, very early.
Yeah, man. I have a question about the conditional. Could I do something like if Hedera goes up 2%, buy $1,000 worth of Gib, kind of playing the beta play aspect of it? Because usually what happens is the number one meme coin goes up 8% against Hedera going up like 2%.
Yeah, that's like a beta trigger. I don't think we have that in capacity yet, but that is something that we want to do. Because you would have to, you'd have to have a tracking system where he's monitoring the price of HBAR in real time to then buy the other one. So I don't think that's currently available. Right now it's more direct for it, but that is
Mhm.
something that we would like to do. That is actually like a really good trading strategy where you're just basically trying to automate the beta
Mhm.
plays for all of it, right? That's like a popular one on Base is like whenever Banker goes up, the Grok token goes up like double, right? So kind of going it in that capacity, or even not in like runes, right? It's like anytime Dog goes up, then Billy Cat will go up, kind of
Yep.
higher kind of strategy. No,
'Cause
that's a
that'd be great
really,
to
really good
automate
idea.
that. Yeah, so or the same thing, if the air drops 2%, sell all my GIP. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like right away and something like that. You can even do that with Bitcoin with a Dara, saying, you know, when Bitcoin goes up, 4%, buy a Dara. Or Bitcoin goes up, 0.4%, buy a Dara or something like that.
Yeah, so basically what we're doing with Agent Hustle, we just came to this kind of agreement internally yesterday. We're going to be adding BNB next, and then Polygon with prediction markets. And then
That's awesome.
we're probably going to pause chain expansions and work on a lot of the internal features for the rest of the year. So we have to add a cross-chain swap. So you could swap HBAR for Sol, right? Or swap ETH for Matic, right? Or BNB kind of situation. And there's a bunch of trading tools that we want to introduce as well. So now that we've got it, we also just like as we expand, we'll have 6 chains after Polygon. Kind of just want to let the market determine what's the winner, what's not, what do they like, what they don't. But the experience within Agent Hustle needs to be improved. Right now it's a little stale. It's just people coming in and they have an understanding of what they need to do, but we need to build things within the app that entertains people to stay within Agent Hustle, as well as gives them, opportunities to find different tokens, but then also take advantage of it. So we are thinking through these different things to add to really separate ourselves from the rest of the AI market. And it's going to be a lot of fun to do. So just look for that. The prediction market stuff, I got to say, I've been testing it. And to me, it really feels like a winner. It feels a lot different from everything else. Just sitting there and talking to an AI and being able to get information and pull information from the internet, from DeFi Llama, from all these different platforms,
Oh my
and
gosh.
and social intelligence, and combine it all into a recommendation or information on a prediction market to then place a bet. It was pretty good. Actually, the first one I ever did, I was talking with an individual, and I was just letting them know that we're working on prediction markets of something they've been requesting. And he was like, "Hey, put this in and see what happens." And he won his first bet, literally, like pretty much. And it was 11% odds of winning. And it was like he won his first bet. So far, so good. There's still some structural things, but I think AI times prediction markets is going to be like a pretty big opportunity for Agent Hustle.
I think predictions markets are being slept on big time right now for people to actually make money as an opportunity on the side. I saw an interview, I think it was Thread Guy, that had this kid on that was like, just got a job in professional world for first year. He was doing poly market on the side. He's making 20K, like I think he's making like 20K a week or something crazy like that,
Wow.
or maybe every 2 weeks. And now he quit his job, so now he's doing it full time. But imagine having hustle, because like you got to do the manual research, or you can use ChatGPT. But if you have the hustle that can place the bet for you and do the research for you as well, definitely going to be utilizing that, because we can get lazy mentally. I think people in the space, because we're so comfortable with this or comfortable with that, but we just let opportunities can pass you by, and I think Polymarket is one of those.
Yeah, I think so as well. I like prediction markets. That's a little bit more my style. I've never been really a meme coin trader, although I was on Dogecoin like really, really early, but that was a little bit different at the time. And I just see a lot of the meme coin traders are moving over to prediction markets. So it's the same conversation with Emblem that we were just discussing is the same thing here. You got to meet people where they're at. If you just continue to build, they won't always come, right? So if we just continue adding new chains and adding launch pads, maybe that kind of works, but a lot of the users are moving over to prediction markets. So we need to be able to offer a package that is applicable to where the current market is. And right now that is moving towards prediction markets.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, a lot of the people that are in these markets, they always say, like, you know, being educated on what you're betting on. Like, for instance, like, how many times will Trump say this, right? And actually knowing the past data of how many times he said it last interview and last interview, something that Hustle could probably tell you, right?
That
So
was actually one
off
of the.
that,
I actually have a video of that. That was one of the asked him for
really,
three recommendations, and one of it was the Trump. I don't know. It's called mention markets. And he actually had put an average of the amount of times he had said a word during his past
wow.
interviews. So, yeah, it's really good. It's really, really cool. Obviously, there's going to be mistakes, but I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity there. And we have a lot of our traders who are in Mav's prompting group who are kind of preparing for that, for when that does come,
Whoa.
because they think that they're going to have a big advantage.
It's insane. I didn't think about that. Imagine having a group of people who are all asking Hustle the same questions. And oh, dude,
Then you're gonna
absolutely,
feel
dude.
really confident in your bet.
100%.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we had talked about a few months ago with Agent Hustle. It's like if you get to a point of adoption where you have a few thousand daily active users and he's showing the same token to everybody, then it's kind of like a positive reinforcing flywheel where
Yep.
more people come onto the platform and buying the token, but because the agent is giving that same recommendation and more people are buying it, so the price goes up. A little bit different with prediction markets. Like, yes, you can change, or you could change the ratio of the bet itself, right? So if a lot of people are buying one prediction, then they're going to move the market in terms of where the percentage is, but they're not going to be able to change the outcome based on what the purchase is of the token, which is different from meme coins. So AI has a cool opportunity here to use its wits and its knowledge to help give users an edge in finding what they think that outcome is. And there's a lot of AIs that have been attached, or third-party services that are using AI for Polymarket. I think at the end of the day, it's which one has the best data aggregating that's going to give it to it, but which one has the right data that's added to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it HIP, hustle influence prophecy, right? So if everyone's getting the same information, we're all locked in together. But absolutely awesome. But we talked about Emblem Vault. We talked about Hustle. There is a third part of this three-headed monster called migrate.fun. And you guys, are towards the end, I want to say, towards the end of this. So it looks like 11, 18, 12, 4, 11, 20, 25. But these are looking really good. But I asked you a question earlier this week. I said, what's up with, 33%, 29%? You actually gave me a really good answer, kind of explaining what is happening with these, right?
Yeah, so Link is a good one. They have 78% of their supply locked in Streamflow, which apparently is owned by the original dev of the project who rugged the project or something like that. So this is actually a unique situation where it was a CTO. They took over, started building an app on top of it. The old dev had locked their supply, and they're taking the advantage to migrate while that is locked so that the old dev doesn't dump on them. And so they're going to be able to recover, I think, like 80% of the liquidity. And they got the majority of people migrating over. I think now it's like 93% if you include the locked supply. So cool opportunity there. Pay AI, also 33% migrated, gets them about 90% of liquidity. They have tons of exchange listings. Actually, as the migration has started, there has been like another 5 to 10 exchange listing announcements. So we've been coordinating with a lot of the exchanges on participating in the migration. So the migration itself, it will slowly be migrated over as we get more exchanges kind of on board. And then Memeverse and Baobao, pretty cool. Both smaller projects, I think under 100K market cap. But we don't discriminate on the value itself. Memeverse is rebranding from Sackboys, which was a meme coin. They're rebranding to an actual utility project based around like gaming for memes. And then Baobao was an original Bonk coin that launched on Bonk before they had creator rewards. So they're migrating over so they could get the new creator rewards from the Bonk team. So cool opportunity there. And then obviously we have the Pump Fund migration group, which is we have 12 teams who have announced so far. We have another 11 that we're in discussions with. We have given all of those teams basically a final date to decide on if they're going to participate or not. And if they are, they have to make the announcement. The reason why the announcement is important is because exchanges look at that announcement as validation that a migration is happening to move forward with the relisting process. So it's a lot of these teams, a lot of the pump teams are very eager to migrate. But I try to tell them that, this is like a multi-month kind of process. There's a lot of things that have to be aligned. And so it may move slow for some teams, but for other teams, the extra time is absolutely necessary because the exchanges are one of the most difficult pieces to all of this to ensure that teams have their liquidity migrated over. But once we do announce those dates, you'll see the marketing machine probably turn on, and the pump team is actually like quite involved in this, at least from a onboarding, discovery, and kind of technical questions here. We don't have any insight into like what their marketing strategy is, what's going on behind the scenes and such, but they are quite bought in as they're now moving into the ICM market, which, remember, I was on this show 2 months ago, and a lot of the teams that moved over to Bonk were ICM. It was like Bonk is going to have a pretty big ICM movement with a lot of the AI projects that have moved over there. And I still think so as well. But Pump is identified that the ICM market's going to be quite big, with Believe fumbling the bag in some sense. And a lot of the teams that are migrating with us are actually moving over from Believe itself. So cool opportunity there. And to be honest, just from a personal level, I'm excited to move past meme coins and into projects that are building something of substance. Although meme coins do have substance and community, ICM is a little bit more my style, preferably.
Could you actually explain that from your point of view? Because I'd love to know. Because I hear ICM, a lot, right? But everyone has like their own definition of it. What's yours?
So it's funny because crypto does this very often, where they'll take an old concept and they just basically put a new name on it and then try to build it for a second layer, right? So it was like we went from, what was it? We went from, ICM, Internet Capital Markets is the word. It's really just utility coins. It's just rebranded, right? Just as like meme coins were rebranded from shit
Pretty
coins, right?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, they're just utility tokens.
That is,
I think they want to attract like Web2 companies too, though. That's a part of the movement.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same thing as like projects that are launching through Echo, right, as an ICO, or projects that are launching through Legion as an ICO, right? Like ICO, you could say like Coinbase's acquisition of Echo is literally just an ICM play, right? At the end of the day, the one thing that I definitely do not get in the way of anymore is the rebranding of names, because every time there's a new generation or new group that enters crypto and they pretend that they're the first ones to that market and they'll take it over, right? So if Gen Z wants to come in and rebrand utility coins as ICM, sure, whatever. I don't really care. I'll call it ICM, call it whatever you want. It's going to be the same thing a year or two from now when TradFi and boomers come in and start participating in ICOs. They're probably going to call it something else. And then they're going to pretend that they were the first ones to do it, right? So this is not something that's new to crypto, just taking something and rebranding it and trying to pursue it, right? It's kind of like Web3 when crypto was rebranded as Web3 during the NFT cycle. And it kind of stuck for a little while, and then people got burnt out on it because they called it cringe. ICM will probably be the same thing. We'll run through the whole ICM cycle, and then afterwards the acronym ICM is going to be cringe, and then we'll just call it utility coins again.
Yeah. Stan has a question. He says, is the Agent Hustle app on the roadmap? Will we ever see that Agent Hustle in the App Store?
He's talking like mobile. Yeah, of course.
Sounds like, yeah.
We have like a framework for it. The difficult part is when we started building Agent Hustle, we actually started with the app. We started with Telegram. And what we slowly realized is that you cannot build AI infrastructure through a mobile app. You have to build it on desktop, because this is where all the databases and coding terminals and things like that are. So we had to we built the template for the Telegram bot. It was called Hustle Vault. And then we had to go back and be like, okay, we have to start on desktop to get this and then move it into mobile afterwards. So yeah, that is something that we want to do. We got to basically make sure that the system works well. So we've got a lot of the infrastructure in play. And this is what I'm saying, that we're taking a pause on chain expansion after Polygon to work internally, improve all of the stuff within Agent Hustle to make the app much more of an experience rather than a place to go to do specific tasks. And then mobile is definitely one. From what we see, it's about 60% of Agent Hustle users are on desktop and 40% are on mobile. So it's already 50-50. And that's not even with a dedicated app. That's just people going to the browser to trade with it. So it's something we're very aware, and probably something that will increase users, daily active users, and platform revenue. But we just got to ensure that the infrastructure is ready for it, or else becomes a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, man, you guys have a lot going on. I'm just curious, what are you most excited about for December? Which one of these three-headed monster are you, or which one of these heads are you most excited about?
You know, I'm biased. I like NFTs the most, so Emblem Vault is always something that I find most interesting. Although the migrate fun experience is very rewarding, talking with teams, it is very time consuming, but building out an entire new market by yourself as a leader, it's now the second time Emblem has done this, is a lot of fun, especially because it's the biggest revenue generator for the company itself. Agent Hustle, we love. Just the one thing we know is that AI, it could take another year or two before this is something that breaks away. So it is a slow burn. You know, the token holders of Hustle probably don't want to hear that, but that's just, you know, you're just kind of accepting the reality. You look at the stats for DeFi AI. Banker had like 300 daily active users. Hustle has like 70 to 80, right? So it's like there's really not many people here. So you just have to wait for the market to come and find the adoption, which means the technology just has to continue to grow. So we do have 2 dedicated developers, 3 if you include Shannon, who work on Agent Hustle pretty much every day. And we have other developers working in the other ecosystems. But Emblem and Nakamoto strategy, NFTs are my favorite sector of crypto. They're where I have edge. They're where I have experience even prior than crypto, working in the antique and collectible business for a long time, the, you know, yard sale and hunting and things like that. So I have a lot of experience there, you know, nostalgia and stuff. But I still, to the end of this day, I was having this conversation. One of our, I think the biggest hustle whale was in Vegas. And so I met up with him. Maybe he's even listening to this. He listens to these shows usually. And he was talking about how he thinks Agent Hustle is the biggest, will be the biggest of the 3 product lines. And, you know, I accept it and I agree with it, but I challenge it a little bit. And I think Emblem could actually be the most valuable project of them all. And the reason why I say it is that it's literally premier picks and shovels business. I like to look at crypto as a reflection of the real world. And so in this way, you know, blockchains are countries. I've gone through this speech like a million times, but blockchains are countries, right? And NFTs are the non-fungible items in the real world, like vehicles and stuff like that. The most valuable company to ever exist was a shipping company, right? The Dutch East India Company, which was worth like 90 or 80% of the global GDP of the world. The international and domestic shipping industry is 7.5% of global GDP, so about $10 trillion a year. And Emblem is literally the only one in the business right now, right? So there's an opportunity to literally, you know, be the main player of that. And whenever the blockchains become saturated in adoption and there's users using it, people need to be able to move their assets across chains. Just like in the real world, you take a plane to another city or another state, another country, you ship your cars over to a different place, right? People drive around Japanese vehicles, Mitsubishi inside of the United States, just as people drive Teslas out in China, right? So this industry is only going to continue to grow, and Emblem being the literal only option for this right now, to me just says that it's going to be a massive company. Like I joined the company in the first meeting. I said that Emblem was going to be $1 billion company, and we're trying to grow it to be $1 billion company. I think it could be significantly higher than that, but you know, one step at a time. Currently in the 2 comma club, got to get to the 3 comma club at some point for enterprise value.
Yeah, I mean, and plus, I think all people that are so focused on, is this part of Emblem going to be the biggest or that, like, I wouldn't worry about that, because they're all going to touch each other. They're already like tied in to each other. I'm going to be able to buy Nakamoto card strategy using Hustle. I'm going to be able to eventually be able to jump my ordinal to Ethereum using Hustle. You know, those type of integrations are planned, right? So,
Yep.
I mean, for me, I think it's like, you know, not too focused on worrying about that. And plus, by the way, while like the market's going through what it's going through, you guys are continually building out Hustle, like you said, every day, you know, improving it. And I think where Hustle is going to be most useful is just more convenient. One thing that doesn't change, it doesn't matter what industry you're in business wise. If you can make someone's life easier, they will pay you money for it.
Yeah, everyone's gonna see a lot more crossover between Emblem and Hustle with smart vaults. That's going to be the power. We actually are building smart vaults to power migrate fund for cross-chain migrations as well. So you will see a lot of the blend. The Hustle token still remains the ecosystem token. Nakamoto strategy is an interesting play on the new experimentation of the NFT industry, and we're going to continue to experiment and continue to adopt. And if it leads to more business for Emblem Vault, then it is a win at the end of the day. And we're still acquiring both, right? We announced yesterday that we took basically last month's revenue and last month's Emblem Vault revenue plus the current revenue, and we went and just bought the Nakamoto strategy token, bought about 8%. We're still buying the Hustle token with migrate fund revenue. More revenues coming in. The pump fund group is going to be the biggest migration group yet. Or at least it looks like that it's on pace to be that. And we're going to continue buying the token. If Hustle continues to go lower, we're just going to buy more of the supply and continue to grow it. I mean, we have a lot of cool opportunities for tokenomics and different ideas for Agent Hustle. We just first have to grow the users. A lot of the tokenomics within Agent Hustle do not work unless there's a lot of users on the platform, right? And how do you get new users? New products, right? How do you get new products? Continuing to build and experiment, things like that. So it's a step-by-step process. And I think the majority of token holders are aware of this, but a lot of people are very impatient. And so, yeah, we'll see. We had another whale exit yesterday, which, you know, it is what it is. We watched the price. Obviously, we want the price to go up. I don't know why some token holders believe we want the price to go down. It's always kind of crazy, right? Token goes up, everyone wins. So that is the point in time, but you also got to be cognizant of the market. The market had a gigantic liquidity cascade event or liquidation event a month ago. It takes a few months for that to improve the ecosystem. Again, I still think around the holidays is when the market starts to pick back up. And I still think we're in a bull market. I don't think the market is over. And even, you know, over a year and a half ago, we were saying that we thought the top of the bull market was going to be America's 250th birthday, which is July 4th, 2026. I think we're still on pace for that. And so you just got to hang tight. And during these times when everyone's bored, this is when developers are building. So if you're an investor or a token speculator, you should be looking at the projects of where people are continuing to develop and not closing up shop. From the agent space, 2 weeks ago, there was 2,200 agents. Now there's 1,900 agents, right? So there are businesses literally closing up as we speak, right? And this generally are signs of a market bottom. It's just like when you see foreclosures on your street in the area that you live, right? That's generally signs of nearing a market bottom. So it's going to continue on for a little bit, but be bullish on builders because ICM means you're bullish on builders. ICOs on Coinbase means you're bullish on builders. And when TradFi comes in, they're not going to be, they may buy some meme coins, but they're going to be bullish on builders. So heading into 2026, the motto should be bullish on builders.
Love it, man. Absolutely amazing. I'm most excited for Shannon and X402. I think that combination is going to be lethal when it comes to what you guys are building. So I'm really excited for that. But any last words before we let you go?
So the company's never been in a better position than it's been today. I actually don't. I think it's somewhat, maybe I'm biased, but I think it's actually somewhat unprecedented of what we're doing. You'd never see people or companies have 2 successful applications. It's very rare. It does happen. I don't think I've ever seen a company have 3 successful applications. So we're continuing to go that way. We're a small team of 9 people. We're going to continue to grow and we're going to continue to put our foot forward. You know, no VC funding. We have a lot more open availability to pursue experimentations, right? If we were a VC allocated company, we would not be able to pursue a Nakamoto strategy. But because we have the flexibility, we're going to continue to try new things and try to increase attention and demand for our different products. So look into Nakamoto strategy, buy it if you're bullish on Emblem. If you're bullish on Hustle, Migrate Fund, or just Emblem in general, then, you know, buy in on the Hustle token, because there's a lot of things that to look forward to in 2026, and we're preparing ourselves for that.
Awesome. And I remember last time you said we're a small team of, I think, 6 or 7, you said. So that's growth right there, right, guys? So that means something. But we appreciate you, Jake, as always, dedicating an hour every Friday to our audience and your community. But we look forward to speaking with you next week.
Hey, guys, have a good weekend.
You too.
See you, Jake.
Bye.
Absolutely awesome as always. Great to have Jake. Great to be, you know, just kind of just watching him kind of build, right? I mean, we've been kind of like hanging with Hustle now for, I want to say it had got to be over 6 months now, and just seeing the growth from the first time he was on the show till today is absolutely awesome. I mean, 6 months ago, they barely had Agent Hustle up and running, and now they have migrate.fund, Agent Hustle. Nakamoto strategy is it's kind of like one of the things that they're kind of really excited about, and an Emblem Vault now with these smart vaults, and absolutely amazing to see.
I mean, the Nakamoto part of the segment got me like, I was like thinking in my mind, I was like, do I need to move some Solana over here, get it over to Coinbase, turn it out? Seriously, because like, think about, I know it's going to be hard to hit that same motion that Punk strategy did, but if they can hit half of it, if we go into like a really bullish time in December, I'm crossing fingers, knocking wood, whatever, $100 million market cap or something crazy like that. I mean, it's sitting at 500K. So my hamster wheel started turning there. But anyways, yeah, I'm excited about them. And right now, I'm telling you, Shizzy and I talked to a lot of builders, guys. Builders they're having to get through this. Do you think you are, as like a trader, or have your portfolio being wrecked and all this stuff? Builders are having a hard time. So if you do see a team like Emblem that has, they're fine, they're good, they're building, they've added a couple of people to their team, I think that's a big statement. But we appreciate you guys for hanging out with us this Friday. We got 571 people join the show today. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Without you guys, we couldn't do this, and we are very thankful for that. But also, without our partners, we couldn't do it. So if you could check out Emblem Vault, we just talked about them, but they are the interoperability layer for Bitcoin ordinals and NFTs. If you're looking to jump your ordinal or Bitcoin NFT Rare Pepe over to Ethereum, you got to use Emblem Vault. They've been doing it for the longest. They are the only one that truly does this style. They've been doing it since 2021. But you can actually take your Taproot wizard from Bitcoin to Ethereum and take a loan out against it on the Gandhi application. The Emblem team, they are going to be opening Emblem up to different layers and environments as well. We do know Solana has been talked about being one of those places. And speaking of Solana, they have the best AI product in the Solana ecosystem with agenthustle.ai. With Agent Hustle, he can find you low cap gems in the Solana ecosystem and, give you reasons why he thinks that these are solid options, right? He can also do conditional trading on your behalf. You can set a buy or sell limit order on meme coins or any SPL coins within the Solana ecosystem. Go do whatever you need to do. He'll take care of it for you. But that's not it. They are integrated with Hedera now. You can do conditional trading with Hedera. Shizzy and I are going to make a tutorial on how to do that. We should put that out over the weekend. I think we're going to be doing that. And then also that's going to be opened up to EVM as well very soon. You heard Jake himself say Binance. So it's going to be a one-stop shop. I mean, you just send, BNB, Ethereum, Hedera, HBAR, and these different types of assets to your Hustle account, and then you can start making trades, doing research, all that great stuff. It's going to be a fun time for sure. But also there is another product in this ecosystem called migrate.fund. If you launched a meme token or utility token on one of these launch pads that have liquidity stuck in there, migrate.fund can help you migrate to another launch pad or to your own LPs that you can manage and earn as much as possible through that way. But they can walk you through that process. They've already done their first cohort and had a lot of success through that one. And then their second cohort they're in right now and have some big names. Pay AI is one of those as well. So if you want to get information, reach out to them through migrate.fund or emblem.vision, where you can also learn about all the products I just broke down for you just now. And then Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin's strength through the power of AI. They have their AI Wizard version 2.0 that can guide you through Merlin Chain's ecosystem. It can also swap for tokens outside the ecosystem as well. All you got to do is have some Merlin Chain Bitcoin in your Merlin Chain wallet, and you can swap for Solana tokens or BNB tokens. But back on Merlin Chain, it can guide you through the ecosystem and do DeFi functionalities for you like swaps and staking. And speaking of staking, they have a proof of stake security model. You can participate in 3 ways. The first way is amazing. It's staking Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin. Everybody wants to find a product like this. And they finished their first staking vault September 30th and got 17% APR for their stakers for that first staking vault. They are 3-month-long staking vaults, and the second one already started, but you can get in up until the last day, which is January 8th. But of course, the sooner you get in, the more days you can earn. They're going to be shooting for around that same APR. The minimum will be 8, maximum will be 21% APR. So make sure you guys are taking advantage of that if that's your prerogative there. And then there's 2 ways to be a part of it through the Merlin Chain token staking program. There is the flexible day-to-day staking program. You earn 15% APR. You can claim those rewards daily. You can roll them up into compound interest strategy if you want, or just sell them, keep them in your wallet, whatever you want to do. But it is 15% APR. And if you do want to withdraw, there's a 7-day chill down period. So just know that. And then the last program is the bonded staking program, which is a 6-month lockup period, but you earn 45% APR. So really solid APR there. You can actually claim the rewards daily, just like the flexible, but the Merlin Chain tokens are locked up in there for 6 months. So just know that. And thank you guys so much for checking out our partners.
Yep. Great job, man. As always. And if you guys have a few more minutes and wouldn't mind checking out onchainrevolution.io, some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. If you know someone just entering the space, please send them our website. We really feel like help them get started and code up to where we are today. America.fund on Solana is a new launch pad over there. We have an article. We'll break it down. We're also going to have one of the founders on the show on Tuesday. So look out for that. It should be exciting. Tuesday, 12 p.m. We're going to have this. So read the article. Learn all about it so that way you're all caught up for Tuesday. And on top of that, we have articles about X402, about crypto sentiment, and everything else. You guys need to check that out. And if you guys need a VPN, I highly, highly recommend Nord. What are some reasons for you need a VPN? If you want to use something like Hyperliquid, something like MEXC, 2 sites that I use constantly. But I need to have my VPN on to use them, right? Because they geo-block you. Do not let them geo-block you. Put yourself in Italy like I am in right now. With my VPN, and I'm able to use anything at any time. It is not your country that is stopping you. It is these websites. They're doing it for their own safety, but if you have a VPN on, you are perfectly fine. Get a VPN today. Get Nord. Lock it in for 2 years. Set it. Forget it. $2.99 a month. You can't beat that. Ends up being less than $100. Lock it in for 27 months. Come back, in 2 years when you're rich and not have to worry about it because all those sites have made you so much money. But definitely check out Nord VPN and make sure you guys use our link. Do not pay the $10 a month. And our store is closing this Sunday. We're going to be closing the store. So if you would like something on here, do it now, because once it is done, it is done. We're going to be closing the store because right now everyone's broke. No one has money for merch. Everyone's buying crypto with it. So we would probably bring it back in a year or so down the line. But as of right now, we're not paying the third-party fee anymore. So definitely check out anything here if you want anything. Support the store, and it's the last days, but appreciate every single one of you guys checking us out each and every day. And remember, guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 4 p.m. UTC. And that's our show, guys. Until then, we'll see you Monday.
Peace.
OnChain revolution roll call. Market recap. You not bullish enough, no. You're not bullish enough, no. Look at the price go. Bitcoin controlling, why you still coping? Price action rolling, don't fall for bear trap. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed, gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and marching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction. OnChain revolution.